Chapter 2457. Ji Shiran had two objectives for bribing Aming. He employed mercenaries from the Tong family side branch using the identity of a steward from the Tong family's main branch, which lowered the guard of the Tong mercenaries. Then, the Tong mercenaries wouldn't be suspicious or intentionally open the box to check it. Young master, I didn't expect everything to be accounted for within your plan. This way, the Tong family will fight to the death with the Zhou family, and the Ji family won't be threatened by these two families anymore. Just when did you make these preparations? The teenager was brimming with admiration as he stared at the handsome youth. While you were sleeping, Ji Shiran answered aloofly. The teenager released an embarrassed chuckle before asking, "But what if Ming betrays us, young master? What would we do?" Ji Shiran softly replied, "His whole family is in my possession." Brilliant! The teenager gave a thumbs up. The Zhou family and the Tong family have acted abominably and committed all kinds of evil deeds. Those two bastard families really thought they were invincible and dared to offend our Ji family. Evil people truly have other evil people tormenting them. It wasn't until Ji Shiran shot him a glance that the teenager realized his words were remiss, and he looked embarrassed. Before the teenager could explain, a girl's blood-curdling scream was heard in the distance. The teenager furrowed his brows and reflexively turned to the origin of the sound. A girl in a leisurely outfit was sent crashing to the ground, but her grip around her dagger remained tight. Next to the girl was a man dressed like a mercenary. "Whose child are you? You look 11 or 12 at most, but why would you come asking for death for a mercenary fee?" The mercenary apathetically stared at the girl he knocked to the ground. "Tell me who sent you here, and I can spare your life." "Young master, it looks like a bounty defected mercenary," the teenager reported to Ji Shiran. These defected mercenaries were very common in the independent state. Most of them had committed some terrible deed, then defected from their group, so their group would offer a bounty on their heads. How old is that girl? She looks only 11 or 12. No? But she actually dared to seek trouble from a defected mercenary. How suicidal. The teenager shook his head. "Young master, let's hurry and leave." Young master, where are you going?" The teenager hastily followed when he saw Ji Shiran walking toward the girl. "Oh, you have companions?" "No wonder," the defected mercenary remarked coldly with a glance at the girl when he saw a youth approaching. The girl also turned to look at the youth, confusion surfacing in her eyes. She didn't know this good-looking youth. "Tell me, who sent you three here? Or perhaps your mind became muddled from the mercenary reward." The defected mercenary glanced at the youth, his voice glacial. However, the youth ignored him and stopped next to the girl and knelt down gracefully. His eyes, brilliant as the starry night, met the girl's eyes. "Is your name Worryless?" The youth adopted a gentle tone. "How did you know?" The girl nodded, her expression curious. 3 years ago, you and grandfather Nye visited my house." Ji Shiran smiled and softly patted her hair. "Have you forgotten? You are Brother Shiran?" The girl's eyes instantly lit up. "Does it hurt?" The youth touched the girl's slightly swollen cheek. "No." The girl shook her head after a moment of silence. "Are you three truly suicidal?" A murderous intent arose in the defected mercenary when he saw the youth and girl talking in front of him, as if he wasn't there. "Noisy." The youth frowned and took the girl's dagger. Before the defected mercenary could realize what had happened, a cold glint flashed, and the dagger pierced a fatal spot in his body as fast as an arrow leaving its dock. The next second, the defected mercenary's body dropped to the ground and stopped moving after a brief convulsion. To his death, incredulous fear was printed on his face. Chapter 2458. What a blind thing. The youth kicked the defected mercenary's corpse away before looking at the girl. His young master had just said this girl was Worryless. Worryless Nye from the Nye family. Miss Worryless, why are you here by yourself?" The youth was bemused. The girl remained silent. Ji Shiran smiled faintly. That question was superfluous. With Worryless Grandpa's personality, he must have intentionally ordered Worryless to come here to train her mental strength. Speaking of which, Worryless grandpa must be nearby, and he would have immediately shown up if Worryless was really in any danger. Let's go, Jishiran said to the girl with a gentle smile. However, a blush dusted over the girl's cheeks, and she wouldn't get up. From the corner of his eyes, Jishiran discovered that she was wearing only one shoe. The other shoe was probably lost in the scuffle. I lost my shoe, the girl finally replied a long while later, her cheeks red. It's fine. Come, Miss Worryless, I'll carry you, the youth offered. However, the girl still didn't move. Come up, Jishiran said softly as he knelt down. The girl's blush deepened immediately, but she wrapped her arms around the youth's neck and was carried on his back. Brother Shiran, where are we going? The girl asked. I'm taking you home, Jishiran replied with a faint smile. Okay, the girl nodded. After walking a moment, the trio stopped to rest next to a stream. Jishiran sat down next to the stream and used the water to wash his hands before asking the girl, Are you hungry? A little, the girl answered. Jishiran turned to the teenager next to him. But young master, this is your lunch, Jiyu anxiously protested. Jishiran wrinkled his brows. Jiyu jolted in fright and could only hand Jishiran's lunch to the girl. It contained taro as well as some vacuum-sealed cooked beef. Jishiran picked up the taro and peeled off the skin before handing it to her. Brother Shiran, you eat. The girl drooled as she stared at the taro. Jishiran smiled at her expression and patted her on the head. It's fine, I'm not hungry. You eat it all. Don't waste it. How can you not be hungry? You haven't eaten all day. Jiyu quietly grumbled not too far away. When the girl was done eating, Jishiran bent down and carried her on his back again. The trio disappeared into the distance. Whenever Worryless thought about the day she officially met Jishiran, she couldn't help but get lost in her thoughts. At the courtyard in the Ji estate's back hill, many years later, the youth and the girl became a thing of the past. Worryless stared at the intently reading Jishiran and pursed her lips. Great sage, you're here. Jishiran was snapped out of his concentrated state and set down the book, turning to Worryless with a smile. Damn, it's a classic. Are you really trying to be a sage? Worryless teased. Jishiran didn't get angry and merely chuckled. I have nothing to do, so I can only admire the ancient's wisdom. Worryless approached Jishiran. Who doesn't know our brother Shiran's strategic expertise is beyond description? I'm afraid the ancient's wisdom will soon fall behind you, brother Shiran. Worryless, I heard you recently created a group called the Fearless Alliance. A warm smile hung on Jishiran's lips. You know? The girl was startled. What? I'm not enough to play with you? You still need the Fearless Alliance? Jishiran leaned closer to the girl, his eyes exceptionally bewitching and soul-stealing. Chapter 2459. Worryless stared at the man's bewitching eyes, which were as vast as the galaxy. For some reason, she felt her heart starting to race and a blush creeping over her cheeks. How could this man be so good-looking? He was utterly spellbinding. Play with what? Worryless hastily looked away. When Jishiran saw Worryless reaction, he chuckled and dotingly patted her on the head like he did when they were young. I can do anything you want. I'm hungry. Cook a meal for me, Worryless said. I don't know how. Jishiran shook his head. Worryless but I can learn. Jishiran smiled at her. Follow me. Where are we going? Worryless asked with intrigue. The kitchen. Jishiran then walked away. In the kitchen of the Ji estate, young master. When all the servants bustling around the kitchen saw Jishiran, they were astonished. Why did young master come to this kind of place? Miss Worryless. Everyone promptly greeted Worryless as well. Are you hungry, young master? What do you want to eat? We'll prepare it immediately. Jishiran replied. No need. All of you can leave. Yes. They didn't know why, but no one dared to question or disobey Jishiran's orders. Soon, Jishiran and Worryless were the only two people left in the enormous kitchen. After the servants retreated, Jishiran started searching for ingredients in the kitchen. I remember, you like to eat sweet and sour spare ribs. Ji Shiran turned to worryless Nya. You know what I like to eat? Worryless Nya found that strange. Ji Shiran merely smiled but didn't respond. Worryless Nya watched the man bustling around the kitchen, acting completely unlike the famous demon of the Ji family who awed the people of the independent state. He was also acting unlike a man who was about to become the emperor of the entire underground dynasty and didn't have any bit of arrogance. He was akin to a boy next door who shone like the sun, both warm and comforting. In this world, as long as she had him, as long as he was here, all would be fine. From the beginning, he was the only one she wanted. Brother Shiran, you aren't really cooking, right? Worryless Nya stared at Ji Shiran. Why can't I? Ji Shiran held an apron in his hand and turned to her. But you're Ji Shiran. If you really cook for me, I'm afraid I couldn't withstand it. Worryless Nya chuckled. There's a condition, of course. Ji Shiran's smile, warm as the spring breeze, intoxicated and mesmerized the girl. What condition? She asked. Come here, Ji Shiran said. Worryless Nya automatically walked over. Help me tie it on. Ji Shiran handed the apron to Worryless Nya. But I won't help you get dressed. Worryless Nya gave him a crooked grin. If you want me to help you strip, though, I can consider that. Okay. Ji Shiran wore an inscrutable smile. To the girl, this smile was devoid of all warmth, replaced by wicked seductiveness instead. The girl originally held an advantageous and offensive position, but when she saw him walking closer to her step by step, she panicked instantly, and her eyes darted everywhere. When the man approached her, he grasped her hands. Worryless Nya was fretting over what to do, but Ji Shiran simply handed the apron to her. Be good. Help me tie it on. Huh? Oh. A blush had subconsciously overtaken Worryless Nya's face. After the competition just now, she was utterly defeated and could only obediently help him tie on the apron. After much hard work, Ji Shiran handed a plate of sweet and sour spare ribs to Worryless Nya along with a bowl of rice. So delicious. Eat some vegetables too. Seeing the trace of warmth in his eyes, the girl felt like she possessed the whole world. Chapter 2460 as the man and the girl made their way from the kitchen back to the courtyard near the rear hill. The sun shone brilliantly and a breeze brushed over them, adding to the content atmosphere. Ji Shiran sat down in the courtyard and picked up a classic text again, slowly reading it. On the other hand, Worryless Nya was sitting next to Ji Shiran, occasionally looking at him. Is the book that interesting? Worryless Nya asked. It can't match up to 1/10,000th of you, Ji Shiran casually responded. Before the girl could say anything else, Ji Shiran set the book down. The proceedings of the Fearless Alliance don't seem to be going smoothly. The girl was silent. Indeed, the Fearless Alliance was facing a great hurdle and had crossed some long-established major factions, so they were literally surviving in the cracks. It's nothing. Things are going rather smoothly. Actually, the girl forced a smile. As long as things are going well. Ji Shiran nodded gently. After Worryless Nya left, Skeleton, Ji Shiran called. A thin man appeared. Ji Shiran didn't take his eyes off of his book and kept reading as he ordered, eliminate every entity that threatens the Fearless Alliance. Withhold all mercy. Yes. Skeleton took his leave a second later. Young master. Ji looked at Ji Shiran. Our situation right now isn't optimistic either. The Tong family and the remnants of the Zhou family teamed up with the previous leader of the Underground Empire. We should avoid trouble. However, Ji Shiran didn't look up and replied detachedly, Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. Young master. Sigh, all right. Ji was exasperated. Had his young master gone mad? This next period of time was most vital for the young master. Whether he could rule the entire underground empire or not would depend on this. Furthermore, the Tong and Zhou families were attentively watching Ji Shiran, wanting to eliminate Ji Shiran first so the others would collapse. Yet, he was dispatching Skeleton and his group to help that ridiculous Fearless Alliance. Late at night, at the headquarters of a major faction, several higher-ups were facing off against a great enemy. These people actually managed to covertly infiltrate their headquarters and successfully avoided all detection, catching them completely off guard. Just how did they do it? Skeleton grimly stood next to a man. The man wore an overcoat and leather gloves. I heard you guys schemed and injured by foam of the Fearless Alliance. The man, Ji Shiran, had a faint smile on his lips, but it sent onlookers shivering. Skeleton looked at his master. This smile was a true sign that this man was genuinely angry, a rare occasion. By foam, a higher-up snorted. I was wondering who you were. So you're from the Fearless Alliance. What did you think you could do by sneaking inside our headquarters? I'm telling you, we've set up an elaborate trap around this place. All of you will die. We've disabled your elaborate trap already. How else do you think we entered? Ji interjected coldly. What? The expressions of several managers changed at once. What kind of joke were they playing? What should we do with them, Emperor Ji? Skeleton asked. Emperor Ji? Everyone was stunned when they discovered the identity of this man. This man was the Emperor Ji. Emperor Ji, could it be your Ji Shiran of the Ji family? A manager shuddered. Impossible. How could Ji Shiran have any connection to the Fearless Alliance, and that by phone? That was absolutely impossible. Who is Ji Shiran? Although he rarely made appearances in the independent state, and very few people had ever seen Ji Shiran's true appearance, his ferocious name had reverberated through the independent state since he was young. From now on, you'll be struck off from the independent state, Ji Shiran aloofly said. Soon, a raging flame started to take over the headquarters, swallowing it whole. He wouldn't forgive any entity that harmed her. He would only destroy and erase their existence. Perhaps feeling a bit chilly, the man wrapped his overcoat around him more tightly. Then he led his group away without looking back. Chapter 2461, Side Story. Ji Shiran, 6th the Independent State. It was winter, and heavy snow fluttered from the sky like goose feathers throughout the entire day. In the rear courtyard of the headquarters of Emperor Ji's faction, Ji Shiran was wearing a thick overcoat, while his head of long hair was casually draped behind him. Currently, the man was kneeling down and meticulously caring for the fruits and vegetables he personally planted. Brother Shiran, are you planning to retire and return to civilian life? Worryless Nya asked from her seat in the courtyard as she watched Ji Shiran, who had quite a few splatters of rain and snow on his body. She didn't understand why this man planted these fruits and vegetables. Retire and return to civilian life? Ji Shiran murmured softly, startled. Retire and return to civilian life. Worryless Nya said jokingly. What? Is this the life you want? Ji Shiran turned to Worryless Nya. The life I want. Worryless Nya pondered for a moment with her chin propped on her hand. A few fields, 3 meals of salted vegetables, working from sunrise to sunset, ordinary and peaceful. Ji Shiran smiled. Are you willing to leave it all behind? Why wouldn't I? You, though, are you willing to leave it all behind? Worryless Nya asked Ji Shiran. Ji Shiran was startled. Your future includes me too? Of course. Worryless Nya dashed forward and looped her arm around his arm. I can be without everyone. I just can't go without you in my life. But I'm not willing. Ji Shiran shook his head. The anticipation in Worryless Nya's eyes instantly turned into an indescribable emotion. I'm not willing to make you eat only pickled vegetables for all 3 meals. So how about we add some sweet and sour spare ribs? Ji Shiran chuckled lightly. Fuck, what's going on with this man? Brother Shiran, are you willing to leave this life and abandon everything? Worryless Nya was incredulous. In the independent state, he was akin to an emperor who lorded over the world and possessed almost supreme power. Ji Shiran shook his head and slowly stood up. He wrapped the girl's jacket around her more tightly as he said, I wouldn't unless I was trading this life for you. Really? Worryless Nya stood in her spot, watching his movements before meeting his enthralling, gentle eyes. She felt that her heart had been melted by his blazing warmth already. What do you think? The man tapped the tip of her nose with his finger. Go in first. It's cold out here. Ji Shiran turned around and picked some of the vegetables and fruits he planted. I grew these myself since I don't trust other people's produce. Come over to eat often. These are all very healthy. You planted all of this for me. Worryless Nya was astonished. The corners of his lips turned up, happiness also surfacing in his eyes. After he finished picking the produce, he walked forward and grasped her hand before leading her toward the kitchen. Ji Xiaoran's culinary skills have been honed more and more exquisitely. His dishes looked and smelled amazing and tasted incredible, especially his sweet and sour spare ribs. Worryless Nya wanted nothing more than to inhale even the plate. However, the girl didn't like eating vegetables and only consumed meat, aside from Ji Xiaoran's vegetables. That evening, anyone who looked down from the hilltop at Emperor Ji's headquarters would have a panoramic view of the resplendence below. The man sat at the mountaintop, the girl sitting next to him. You've worked hard for all of this for a very long time, the girl commented softly. That's right. I haven't stopped since I was a youth. Ji Xiaoran nodded. My fearless alliance is also very fearsome right now. It's strange, though. The factions that kept oppressing us before have all disappeared, Worryless Nya said. That's good. Ji Xiaoran smiled. The girl turned to him. It's not your doing, right? It isn't. The man shook his head. Suspicious. Worryless Nya pursed her lips. Chapter 2462, Side Story. Ji Xiaoran 7. If you like it, all of this can be yours, Ji Xiaoran said with a chuckle as he looked at the world below him. It can be mine? The girl also surveyed the land underneath them. This was akin to an empire. But your Emperor Ji, are you willing to yield everything to me? Worryless Nya joked. If you want to become Emperor Nya, Ji Xiaoran replied. Emperor Nya? Worryless Nya hastily shook her head. Forget it. That sounds terrible. I would rather keep being by phone. Before the girl could say anything else, the man tugged her into his arms. Caught off guard, the girl fell against his chest. When Worryless Nya recovered, a blush instantly covered her face. She'd never experienced this reddening and heart-racing feeling. Although there were many good-looking men in the world, Ji Xiaoran's uniqueness was irreplaceable. Don't work too hard, Ji Xiaoran softly said. You're the one working hard, Worryless Nya retorted. Oh, right. Lately, the Tong family, the Zhou family, and that Li Chun you defeated have released word that they want your life. You know about that, right? I don't. Ji Xiaoran shook his head. Huh? You don't know? Worryless Nya was stunned. How could you not know? Isn't that too dangerous? I don't care too much about things said by strays. Ji Xiaoran smiled. You must protect yourself well, all right? The girl was filled with worry. Ji Xiaoran agreed. Your complexion doesn't look too good. The girl carefully examined his face. Maybe it's because of the cold. Let's go back inside. Ji Xiaoran stood up and naturally took her hand into his before leaving this place. A few days later, inside the study of Emperor Ji's headquarters, Emperor Skeleton quickly strode inside. Speak, Ji Xiaoran said. It's regarding Miss Worryless. Skeleton was hesitant. The man instantly furrowed his brows. What happened? Miss Worryless fell to the Zhou family, the Tong family, and Li Chun's ploy, and was captured, Skeleton reported truthfully. The always calm man shot up instantly. Never seen before, iciness and violent rage erupted from his eyes and veins bulged on his forehead. He set his hand on his desk, as if he was trying to calm himself down. However, a loud boom rang out and wooden pieces scattered everywhere. The desk had been crushed. Emperor Ji, Skeleton was shocked. This was the first time in his life that he had ever seen his master on the brink of losing all rationality. What had the always scheming and confident Emperor Ji looked the way he did today? Who leaked it out? The man was expressionless. However, Skeleton could sense that the man was restraining the wild beast that was about to shatter its cage and leap outside of him. Emperor Ji. No one knows about your relationship with the president of the Fearless Alliance by phone. I think that someone from our side probably saw Miss Worryless visiting our headquarters and accidentally divulged it, Skeleton hastily explained. Find them and kill without mercy, the man commanded. Yes, how's the situation at the Fearless Alliance? Ji Shiran asked. The Fearless Alliance has no idea Miss Worryless was captured. The Zhou family, the Tong family, and Li Chun paid a huge price this time, but even so, they suffered extensive damage and a dozen or so higher-ups were killed. Miss Worryless fought to the verge of exhaustion, but unfortunately, her opponents were too contemptible and too great in numbers, Skeleton replied. The man was frighteningly quiet, but Skeleton could sense the other man's insuppressible violent undercurrents. Chapter 2463, Side Story, Ji Shiran 8, Give it to me. Ji Shiran extended his hand towards Skeleton. Give what to you, Emperor Ji? Shock flitted through Skeleton's face, but he quickly concealed it. The letter that Li Chun, the Zhou family, and the Tong family left for me, the man replied. Skeleton frowned deeply. How did Emperor Ji know? They have no grievances or grudges against Worryless. Li Chun and his group captured Worryless for no reason other than to force me to show up. Since they did it so covertly, they would have naturally left clues and a letter for me. Otherwise, what would be the point of abducting Worryless? The man added, Emperor Ji, but Skeleton was hesitant. Don't make me say it a second time. The man was already on the brink of losing his rationality. In the end, Skeleton sighed and handed the letter to Ji Shiran. After reading the letter, Ji Shiran ordered, No one is allowed to act rashly. I'll keep the appointment. What? Skeleton was aghast. What? He'll keep the appointment? That's an absolutely suicidal appointment. Emperor Ji, you mustn't. They went through Herculean efforts to abduct Miss Worryless because they wanted to make you give in. If you really meet with them, you'll die without a doubt. Skeleton hastily tried to stop him. As long as she's fine, my life is unimportant, the man murmured. This was the only mistake in his life, but one sole mistake could become an unredeemable blunder. No, Emperor Ji, if you go, both you and Miss Worryless will probably. If you don't go, Miss Worryless' life temporarily won't be at risk. After all, you're their only target. Skeleton said. Don't make me repeat myself, the man said coldly. Emperor Ji scram. Skeleton could only clench his teeth and retreat. In a secret room, the girl was covered in blood and had her arms and legs bound, but her energy was still decent and she was icily and darkly staring at everyone in the room. I wonder if Ji Shiran truly cares about your life or not, a tall man said coldly as he looked at Worryless Nya. Yeah, I heard by phone, and Ji Shiran had a good relationship. Even if Ji Shiran doesn't care about her life, we can strengthen our cause by using this opportunity to subsume the Fearless Alliance, Patriarch Tong interjected. Back then, Ji Shiran plotted and killed my son. This time, I'll definitely obliterate him. With just you guys, Worryless Nya stared at Li Chun, Patriarch Zhou, and their henchmen and snorted. You overestimate yourselves. Indeed, if we didn't have you in our possession, perhaps we really would be overestimating ourselves. But with you here, everything is different. Li Chun glanced at Worryless Nya. Me? Worryless Nya shook her head. It appears I'll really have to disappoint you. Ji Shiran and I only have a business relationship. The Fearless Alliance has only just recently collaborated with Emperor Ji. It appears you've rashly acted without making thorough investigations. A shock swept over the occupants of the room. Ji Shiran, I prohibit you from coming. You mustn't come. Worryless Nya might have looked composed and placid on the surface, but anxiety had drowned her insides. Patriarch, a middle-aged man, suddenly burst in. Ji Shiran is here. Really? Patriarch Tong's eyes lit up. I saw it myself, and he's all by himself. The middle-aged man replied. Good. Wonderful. Patriarch Zhou was steaming with excitement. Son, I can finally avenge you. Worryless Nya froze. He still came. Is he an idiot? Doesn't he know this is a fatal plot with no possibility of survival? Why would he do this? Soon, a round of knocking was heard. The middle-aged man opened the door. In his overcoat, the man apathetically stood in front of the door. Is this a good time? Welcome, Emperor Ji. Pardon me for not going out to meet you. You're welcome. You're too welcome. We were all waiting for you. Patriarch Tong chuckled. Chapter 2464, Side Story. Ji Shiran 9 the man pulled his jacket around himself more tightly before strolling into the room without any hesitation. Bam! The door was forcefully slammed shut following Ji Shiran's entrance. Ji Shiran, why did you come here? Are you stupid? A mist enveloped the girl's eyes when she saw Ji Shiran. He will die. However, the man didn't respond and swept his eyes over everyone else in the room. May I ask what everyone intended by employing this type of method to invite me here? It's nothing major. I just missed you dearly after not seeing you for a long time, Emperor Ji. We mainly wanted to see you and chat, Li Chun replied. Patriarch Zhou snorted. Ji Shiran, back then, you killed my son and framed the Tong family for it, making both of our families suffer immensely. You didn't expect to see this day, right? Ji Shiran's lips turned up, and he nonchalantly said, You were merely too stupid. What kind of situation are we in? Your mouth is still so tough. Fine, since you're willing to come and meet your death for this woman, I'll respect you as a real man. You killed my son back then, so I will make this woman die in front of you today. Patriarch Zhou turned to the middle-aged man, standing to the side, and ordered, Pierce her eyes first. That'll be my greeting gift for Emperor Ji. The middle-aged man nodded and instantly directed his dagger toward Worryless Nya. Worryless Nya could hear the frightening sound of the dagger breaking the wind. Reflexively, she closed her eyes. PFFF. It was the sound of a blade piercing flesh. The girl felt several droplets of fiery warmth landing on her face. Worryless Nya's eyes shot open. The scene that greeted her made her pupils contract. The man shielded her behind him, his long hair flying in the air. However, his ink-colored hair was tainted with stains of blood. The dagger had pierced through the man's palm. Slash drip, drip. Slash droplets of blood followed Ji Shiran's fingers and fell onto the floor. Brother Shiran. Worryless, Nya couldn't hold back her tears. The man turned back, his lips curling up into a smile directed at the girl. It was still that familiar smile, with immense warmth overflowing from his eyes, as though he was still that sunny boy next door from their youth. Ha! You truly are Emperor Ji. If we didn't belong to different camps, I would really want to befriend you, Emperor Ji. After you die, I'll bury you honorably. You're a true man. Li Chun praised Ji Shiran. This noble man actually used his own hand to block a fatal blow for the girl. Ji Shiran sent the middle-aged man flying back with his palm before walking toward Worryless Nya without looking back. He surveyed the girl's wounds and softly asked, It hurts a lot, right? It doesn't hurt. Hurry and leave. Ji Shiran, leave. She screamed at the man with every bit of energy inside of her. However, a second later, the man embraced her. Sorry, it's my fault, no. It really isn't. Tears soaked the man's overcoat, and the girl vehemently shook her head in his arms. Worryless, don't be afraid. Regardless of where you are or what you go through, I'll stay with you. The man reassured her softly. I'm not afraid. As long as you're here, I'm not afraid. Brother Shiran, I'm not afraid. But if the outcome is death, I don't want you to be here. The girl had never been as relaxed as she was now in the man's embrace. That resilient and strong president of the Fearless Alliance, Bai Feng, was now that small girl from when she was with Ji Shiran years ago. She would drool whenever she saw something yummy. She would make the boy carry her when she was tired. She would blush, and she would act like a child. Even if you die, I'll be by your side, the man said. Chapter 2465, Side Story. Ji Shiran, 10 tears welled in the girl's eyes as she stared at the man. I don't want you to die. Worryless, I won't let you die. The man gave her a comforting smile. Before Worryless Nya could respond, Ji Shiran asked, Tell me, who injured you? That's not important. The girl shook her head with a smile. It's important to me, Ji Shiran expressionlessly replied. The girl's gaze landed on the middle-aged man holding a backsword earlier. Is that so? Ji Shiran slowly stood up, his gaze landing on the middle-aged man. "Ha, Ji Xiran, haven't you grasped the situation and circumstances yet?" The middle-aged man didn't have a trace of fear on his face as he looked at Ji Xiran. Ji Xiran disappeared from his spot and reappeared next to the middle-aged man. Swish! Without wasting any words, Ji Xiran uncoiled his right arm and blood sprayed into the air a second later. The smile on the middle-aged man's face froze, swiftly replaced by fear. The middle-aged man clutched his neck with his hands, but the blood couldn't be stopped. His jugular was slashed by Ji Xiran, but the middle-aged man had no idea how Ji Xiran did it up until his death. Ji Xiran aloofly said, "My situation has nothing to do with how you harmed her." "Ha, you're Emperor Ji indeed. They all say Emperor Ji is powerful, and I originally thought they were just rumors. It's my first time seeing Emperor Ji fight. My horizons have been widened." Li Chun clapped with a laugh. Ji Xiran didn't respond and turned around to walk toward the girl. He used his dagger to untie her arms and legs. "Can you walk?" Ji Xiran inquired quietly. Worryless Nya shook her head. "No, I can't walk right now, come." Ji Xiran bent down. "No, Brother Xiran, I'm begging you. Leave. If you don't take me, I believe you can leave." Worryless Nya was unwilling. Ji Xiran shook his head and carried the girl on his back. "Ji Xiran, this is my first time seeing you lower your head and bowing. Is a woman worth it, even if it costs you your life?" Li Chun's eyes glinted coldly. The man didn't answer and slowly walked forward with the girl on his back, step by step. "Kill him," Li Chun ordered. Countless blades shone and gleamed ceaselessly. The man kicked and sent the people closest to him flying back like a dragon erupting from the sea. "Idiots! Ji Xiran's weakness is by foam." Li Chun taunted. Everyone changed their target and started attacking Worryless Nya. PFFF. It wasn't long before the man was covered in blood and his overcoat was dyed red. The man's body was trembling slightly, but his face remained devoid of any expression. "Brother Xiran, don't torment me like this anymore. Don't block blows for me anymore. I'm begging you," behind the man. The girl's voice was broken with sobs. The man turned his head, a gentle smile hanging on his face. "It doesn't hurt." "You aren't hurting, but I'm hurting." The girl was hysterical. "Worryless, I will get you out of here," the man promised after a moment of silence. "Ji Xiran, I would like to see how you will be able to walk out of here alive." Li Chun leaped up, his dagger ferociously directed toward Worryless Nya. Ji Xiran instantly spun around. The dagger pierced into Ji Xiran's chest. "Li Chun, do you think you've won?" the man asked apathetically. Chapter 2466. Side Story. Ji Xiran 11. Is that not so? Li Chun snorted. "Your blood is boiling. Attack!" Ji Xiran ordered expressionlessly. Li Chun was startled. Before Li Chun could react, a chilly glint flashed in the eyes of the experts behind Li Chun, and their daggers ruthlessly pierced Li Chun's back at once. "Why you?" Li Chun turned around in shock and stared at his two confidants. "Apologies. We've been Emperor Ji's men since long ago." One of the confidants replied coldly. Swish! The other man was unwilling to waste his words and stabbed his dagger into Li Chun's neck. Upon seeing this, Patriarch Zhou and Patriarch Tong exploded with rage. "This goddamn Ji Xiran." Li Chun was extremely strong and was considered among the A+ tier fighting forces in the independent state. Plus, they had the advantage in numbers, so even if Li Chun's confidants were Ji Xiran's men, Ji Xiran didn't dare to act rashly. He waited until Li Chun was relaxed enough before striking the fatal blow. Ji Xiran. He had been waiting this whole time. He actually gambled with his own life. This bastard had planned everything since the first step he took inside of this place. Unfortunately, Li Chun thought he'd completely defeated Ji Xiran, but was merely floundering inside Ji Xiran's trap this entire time. Even if this was a dead-end fatal plot, Ji Xiran gambled with his life, and he won. Li Chun was dead. The remaining people were nothing. Emperor Ji. As the two confidants looked at Ji Xiran's swaying figure, Their expressions revealed their trepidation. Ignore me. Jishiran glanced at Patriarch Zhou and Patriarch Tong. Make them taste all of the pain in this world. After saying that, the man carried the girl and left the place without looking back. Snow fluttered around them, and every single one of the man's steps appeared especially strained. Brother Shiran, put me down. The girl struggled. Finally, the girl struggled free, and the man fell in a pile of snow. Gratification brimmed from the man's stunning face. He reached out and patted her long hair. Are you scared? I am. I'm scared you'll die. Jishiran, you idiot. The girl clutched Jishiran in her arms. If you die, what's the point in me living? You shouldn't have come. The man turned silent and didn't respond. But if you died, what's the point in me living? Half a month later, Jishiran, you're rather fearsome. Haitang mocked as she watched the man who could leave the bed and walk already. What is it? Jishiran asked. You were both nearly killed, Haitang said. It's fine to just look at the outcome, Jishiran replied. Jishiran, I'm asking you. Just what does worryless mean to you? Haitang asked a long while later, meeting Jishiran's eyes. Jishiran smiled faintly, but didn't answer. He didn't need to share the answer with anyone. Says Haitang. At that moment, worryless Nia walked inside with a pile of lunchboxes. Your true love is here. I'm leaving. Haitang smiled and turned to leave. You're here. Jishiran looked at worryless Nia. Hurry and eat. I made delicious food for you. Worryless Nia exclaimed cheerfully. Jishiran placidly sat back down on the bed and watched the girl open all the lunchboxes for him. This is soup brewed with an old hen to help you recuperate your blood. Here are some stir-fry dishes too, Worryless Nia said. She then picked up a spoon and ordered him. Open your mouth. Jishiran, does it taste good? The girl was eager. I lost my sense of taste looking at you, and I can't taste the deliciousness of food anymore, Jishiran said with a smile. Chapter 2467, Side Story. Jishiran, in time flew by. She journeyed across the world with her grandfather while he accomplished his dreams and ceaselessly expanded the Ji family's territory. The girl was still young and was still naive and clueless about romance, but he wasn't worried. Life was a long journey, and he still had a lot of time with her. He was also confident that his little worryless wouldn't easily take a liking to other men. However, he made calculations for everything but forgot to include heaven's will. Emperor Ji, your body is probably... The elderly man next to Haidang was staring at the man with deeply locked brows. After learning about his body's condition, the man didn't say anything. It felt like all of this had been predetermined in the unseen world. Sigh. Extreme intelligence comes at a cost. The elderly man lamented with a soft sigh and a regretful shake of his head sometime later. I understand. The man was also quiet for a long time before turning to leave with a bitter smile. A swordsman had a sword, a scholar had a pen, but from now on, Jishiran wouldn't have worryless Nia anymore. It appeared the heavens didn't permit him to be in her future. Jishiran. Haitang hastily chased after the leaving man. You must recover well. The man paused and his gaze landed on Haitang. But I still have many things to do. Many things? Could they be more important than your life? Haitang pressed worriedly. Then you think lying in bed will stop him from taking my life? Jishiran pointed at the sky. I'll tell worryless. Haitang pulled out her phone. Jishiran shook his head. No need. Jishiran, what do you mean? Doesn't worryless have a right to know about such a big thing? Haitang frowned deeply. It'd just add to her worries. Jishiran replied softly. Just what are you saying? Do you plan to keep it a secret from worryless, then push worryless away? Haitang asked. Jishiran remained silent. Jishiran, you're so heroic. Just who do you think you are? Are you really treating yourself like the male lead in a tragic romance? You'd shoulder all the big problems yourself and completely disappear from this world all by yourself? Haitang demanded furiously. Every person has the power to make their own choices. It has nothing to do with heroism. After saying that, the man turned to leave without looking back. On the island, inside the dilapidated storehouse, The man slowly opened his eyes, his complexion pale. He seemed to have had a dream. He dreamed about a first meeting. He dreamed about mutual companionship. He dreamed about loneliness and despair. Soon, the man fixed his white shirt with difficulty and faced the camera with a warm smile. "I wish you a happy new marriage." As the man spoke, a ripple of emotion surfaced in his eyes. He lowered his head, not wanting the camera to capture any of his emotions. It was a long time before the man faced the camera again. Farewell. Next to the ocean, the man repositioned himself into a more comfortable position. He remembered that he and that girl had also sat next to the ocean like this many years ago and talked about their future as they ate a boxed lunch. Feeling the breeze from the ocean, the scene of their first meeting started playing again in his mind. At the G estate, the sun was blazing high in the sky. The girl was walking while carrying a giant pot, already soaked in sweat. She used a tree branch to prop the giant metal pot up and threw a lot of the food she stole from the G family's kitchen onto the pot as bait. A moment later, having set up the bait, the girl hid behind a giant tree. She held a rope tied to the tree branch in her hand. She originally wanted to use this giant pot to capture the birds living in the G estate's rear mountain, but not a single bird took the bait after waiting for a long time. The girl was starting to drift to sleep when a boy holding a book appeared and stopped in front of the pot. He was startled and looked around him, but didn't see a single person. All he saw was the pile of food sitting under the pot. "What is this doing here?" The boy knelt down and curiously trudged forward with his head sticking out curiously, looking underneath the pot. The drowsy girl felt movement from the rope in her hand and reflexively pulled it to the left. A loud bang rang out and the pot dropped down. Before the boy could react, he was stuck inside the pot. The girl excitedly sprinted out from behind the tree and stopped in front of the pot. She shouted with exhilaration, "Wow! Ha ha, I've caught it, I've caught it!" "Who's there?" When the girl heard a voice coming from inside the pot, she jolted in fright. "Wow, the bird has honed a spirit. Are you a goblin? You can speak. Who are you?" "HM? Me? My name is Worryless Nya. What about you?" "Worryless Nya. Worryless." At that time, he never would have guessed that he would be trapped by such a clumsy trap. And this trap lasted his entire life. Chapter 2468. Side Story. Nameless Nya 1, Learning a Skill. The boy put down the abacus he was holding and looked at his parents with a tilt of his head before promptly shaking his head. "What's there to learn? I won't go." The young master of the Nya family carried some fame to his name, and it wasn't simply because of the Nya family. Nameless Nya was extremely talented in martial arts, but favored his abacus and frequently conducted trades with other people. "Dad, Mom, how much money does the Nya family have? After you die, won't I have to take over the management of the Nya family's finances? What's the use of learning martial arts? Just look at the Shun family." Nameless Nya expressed his objections to his parents' decision to send him to learn martial arts. Father Nya exploded with wrath. "You scoundrel! Send! Immediately send him away." Within 3 days, Nameless Nya was sent out of the independent state. At a village in a small country neighboring the independent state, Nameless Nya looked at the mansion sitting in the center of the village, then looked at the owner of this mansion. He couldn't understand why his parents would send him to this lousy place in the middle of nowhere. Also, what was the deal with this woman who liked to smoke cigarettes next to him? His parents wanted him to learn martial arts from her. Nameless Nya couldn't tell what was unusual about this woman. She didn't seem to be that big of a deal. If he had to name a strength of hers, there was something. Whether it was this woman's appearance or her figure, they were both top-notch. However, she dressed very casually. She wore a pair of shabby jeans and a loose top, appearing rather unruly and free. If she put some effort into her looks, she would probably be a rare beauty. "Nameless, my ancestors had some connections to your ancestors. Your parents sent you to me to learn. I hope you can listen well in the future, okay?" The woman asked Nameless Nya with a light chuckle. Nameless Nya blinked and blinked. "Damn hag. Even my parents can't manage me. So what right do you have to control me? Blah." Nameless Nya snorted and turned to leave. However, he didn't take more than a few steps before the woman grabbed him by his collar and picked him up. Punk, you're rather uncouth. How do your parents discipline you? The woman snorted. I'm warning you. Release me immediately. A good man doesn't fight a woman, and this young master has never beaten a woman, but I don't mind breaking this rule. I'm telling you, I'm very strong. Nameless Nya started brandishing his claws in midair. The woman was amused by Nameless Nya's appearance and gently put him back on the ground. She stuck her hands into her jeans pockets, intrigued. Are you very strong? I really couldn't tell. If you can defeat me, I will send you back to the independent state. How about that? All right, you were the one who said it. Don't blame your grandfather Nameless for ruining a flower and not knowing how to be tender to a woman. Nameless Nya harumphed. Ruining a flower. Being tender to a woman. Who did you learn these words from, little imp? The woman asked curiously. She really couldn't figure out how a 7 or 8-year-old child could say something like this. I learned without a teacher. Please call me a genius. Nameless Nya replied. Don't tell me you learned it from your father, the woman said, humored. Nameless Nya was startled. How did you know? Before the woman could say anything else, Nameless Nya suddenly looked behind the woman in astonishment. Mom, why did you come here? The woman reflexively looked behind her. Chapter 2469, Side Story. Nameless Nya, Nameless Nya guffawed and swung his fist, charging toward the woman. The world is dangerous and human intentions are unpredictable. Let me teach you a lesson. However, a plop resounded and Nameless Nya tripped and crashed next to her feet. The woman turned around and looked at Nameless Nya, baffled. What did you say? Nameless Nya replied, Oh, I miss my mom too much, so I was probably having hallucinations. Who did you say you were teaching a lesson to? The woman stared at Nameless Nya. Didn't I come here to learn martial arts? Teach me a lesson then, Nameless Nya said. The woman instantly picked up Nameless Nya and strode toward the mansion up ahead. To be my student, you have to abide by 3 rules, the woman said to Nameless Nya in the living room. Which 3 rules? Nameless Nya asked curiously. First, from today onward, you're responsible for the cleaning the house as well as buying groceries and cooking. Second, from now on, you'll do whatever I say without any objections. Third, you're now a member of our family and the only man in the house. So you must work and train harder so that you can at least protect us in the future. Nameless Nya sat on the sofa with one leg crossed over his knee and snorted when the woman finished speaking. What do you mean I'm the only man? Is your husband dead? Are you a widow? Don't even think about making me buy groceries, cook, and clean. I want to learn the monkey fists, so how about you give me a monkey show? Before the woman could respond, an apathetic girl walked downstairs from the 2nd floor with a white dress. Mom, so noisy, the girl softly said to the woman. Her gaze toward Nameless Nya was aloof, but was mixed with a trace of curiosity. Who are you? Nameless Nya asked the girl. You're my house. Why are you asking who I am? The girl retorted calmly. Nameless Nya, she's my daughter. In terms of family hierarchy, you should call her aunt, the woman said. Aunt? Nameless Nya stared at the girl. Why should I call her aunt? Why isn't she calling me grandfather instead? If she calls me grandfather, I'll call her aunt. If we address each other like this, then I can accept that. Before the woman could respond, a realization dawned on Nameless Nya. She's your daughter, which means you really have a husband, but you just said I was the only man in the house. Your husband really is dead, and you're a widow. Imp, don't take a mile when I've given you an inch. I never hit children, the woman responded coldly. Hag, don't bare your fangs at me. I never hit women. Nameless Nya wasn't to be outdone. Ling Miao, help mommy teach this imp a hard lesson, the woman said to the girl. The girl shook her head, though. It'd dirty my hands. It appears I have no choice but to personally teach you a lesson, imp. The woman snorted. Come. Chapter 2470, Side Story. Nameless Nya 3, Ling Miao. Why is your surname Ling? Nameless Nya curiously stared at the girl. Why is your surname Nya? The girl retorted. My dad's surname is Nya, Nameless Nya replied. But isn't your father's surname Ling? Ling Miao glanced at him. Yeah, my dad's situation is a bit special. You can take it as I took my mom's surname. Nameless Nia's expression was a bit awkward. I also took my mom's surname. Is there a problem? Ling Miao said detachedly. What I meant was, where did your dad go? Nameless Nia was blunt. Ling Miao pondered over it for a moment and didn't evade the question. My dad abandoned my mom and me and ran off with another woman. Huh? Nameless Nia was astonished. I thought your dad died, your mom was a widow, and you were an orphan, Ling Miao. However, Great Aunt Ling is so pretty. Why would your dad run off with another woman? Could it be that woman is prettier than Great Aunt Ling? Nameless Nia inquired nosily. If you don't know how to talk, you're best off staying quiet. Ling Miao furrowed her brows. Fine, 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 I won't talk. Oh, right. When I came, I saw a small Ferris wheel in town. Let's go out and play a bit, Nameless Nia suggested with a grin. Ling Miao shook her head. My mom doesn't allow me to go out and play. Great Aunt Ling doesn't allow you to go out and play. Nameless Nia was shocked. Isn't that smothering our true nature? That's unforgivably wicked. And I'm not that interested, Ling Miao continued. Nameless Nia pursed his lips. How could you not be interested? I'm telling you, it's because you haven't tried. Come, I'll take you. Nameless Nia grasped Ling Miao's hand and tried to move. However, 2 seconds later, a plop was heard. Nameless Nia suddenly lost balance and was thrown to the ground by Ling Miao. Ah! Nameless Nia fell on the ground with a wail. Are you okay? A shadow of worry flickered through Ling Miao's eyes when she heard how awful Nameless Nia was howling. She didn't use any force. How could I be okay? I'm going to tell Great Aunt Ling that you actually hit me. Nameless Nia was full of grievances. Where does it hurt? Ling Miao gently knelt down, her bright eyes examining Nameless Nia. My head. There's a giant bump. Feel it. Nameless Nia snorted from his spot on the ground. Ling Miao softly touched Nameless Nia's head and said, It'll be fine. It'll go away soon. What do you mean fine? I'm telling you, I was going easy on you earlier and suppressing my instincts, or else you'd definitely be seriously injured right now. You might even be dead. Nameless Nia grumbled grumpily. Ling Miao had no choice but to nod. All right, I'll apologize to you. I won't hit you next time. If you still aren't happy with that, you can also hit me once. Who wants to hit you? I have no interest in hitting you, Nameless Nia responded. Then what do you want? Ling Miao asked. Nameless Nia dusted off his bum and stood up, grasping Ling Miao's hand again. Let's go on the Ferris wheel. He just finished speaking when he lost his balance again and was knocked to the ground by Ling Miao instinctively. You liar. Didn't you say you wouldn't hit me again? Why did you hit me again? Is it because you think I can't beat you? Nameless Nia furiously stared at Ling Miao, his eyes wide open. Ling Miao was quiet for a moment before answering. It was instinct. Chapter 2471, Side Story. Nameless Nia 4. I don't care. You have to take me out today, or else we'll be strangers our whole lives. It'll be a struggle to the death, and only one of us will come out alive. I will put poison in your food and poison you to death. Nameless Nia screamed. Ling Miao, you can go to play yourself. Why do you need me to take you? Ling Miao didn't understand. Nonsense. I've just arrived in this place that's in the middle of nowhere. If I go out, I won't be able to find my way back. Anyway, aren't you my aunt? You're one generation older than me, so what's wrong with you taking me out to have fun? Isn't that within your duties and responsibilities? Am I calling you aunt for no reason? If you want to take me out, then you have to call me grandfather. You have to pay me back. Nameless Nia exclaimed. In the end, Ling Miao could only agree to Nameless Nia's request and take him out to have fun. The two of them walked for about half an hour before arriving at an abandoned Ferris wheel in the middle of town. Ling Miao unwaveringly stared at the Ferris wheel, seemingly deep in thought. Don't tell me you've never gone on one. Nameless Nia questioned. Ling Miao shook her head. Since she was born, she'd never even gone to an amusement park. Are you done looking at it? Let's go home, Ling Miao said. Are you joking? I haven't gone on it yet. Nameless Nia shook his head. This place has been abandoned for a long time. Entry isn't allowed. Ling Miao looked at nameless Nia. So what? We can just secretly sneak inside. He laughed mischievously. Ling Miao swore that this was the first time in her life she'd done something this crazy. She snuck onto the Ferris wheel with nameless Nia. However, due to the Ferris wheel being dilapidated, it couldn't move, so the duo could only climb to the middle level. And since the Ferris wheel wasn't that high, it wasn't too dangerous. What do you think? Nice and cool, right? Nameless Nia grinned. Ling Miao nodded lightly. Sai, you're so sad. You haven't even been on a Ferris wheel before. Nameless Nia shook his head. I heard. Your parents are also very strict. Do you go out to play often? Ling Miao was inquisitive. They're strict, and my parents also never let me go out to play. But thankfully, I have a younger sister. Her name is Worryless Nia, and she frequently secretly takes me out to play. If my parents get angry, I can say it was my sister who forcefully dragged me out. It's not like I can beat her anyway. Nameless Nia replied after a moment of thought. Is that so? Ling Miao was pensive. Worryless Nia, that a nice name. Nice sounding? How? It means thoughtless and heartless. Nameless Nia stared into the distance. I really envy you for having a sister. Ling Miao peered at him. Envy me? Nameless Nia was startled briefly before bursting into laughter. What's there to envy? My sister was taken away by my grandpa since she was young and rarely comes home. My grandpa has a conflict with my parents and prohibits my sister from coming into contact with my parents. My grandpa is seriously fearsome and taught my sister really well, to the point that I still can't beat her, and she bullies me often. Isn't being bullied by a sister also a very blessed thing? Ling Miao asked. You're very right. Did you also want to be blessed? You can achieve it too. In terms of family position, I call you my aunt. Why did you hit me today? Nameless Nia shot her a glance. Ling Miao, my mom's really fearsome. You can study well by her side. My mom said that you have a rare talent, and she's the only one qualified to teach you. When you grow up, you can return to the independent state and properly protect your sister. Ling Miao eventually replied softly. Chapter 2472, Side Story. Nameless Nia 5, Protector. Nameless Nia snorted. When I'm strong, I'll beat her to death and show her how mighty her brother is. Nameless Nia and Ling Miao lingered on the Ferris wheel until nighttime, until a world-shaking, furious scream was heard from below them. You two little brats, hurry and get your asses down here. If I don't beat you to death today, I'll take your surnames. Ling Miao's expression changed immediately. It's over. Mommy discovered us. What are you scared of? Let me do it. Nameless Nia then yelled down. Come here, you vicious woman. Come up and catch us if you can. Fine, you little brat. Under Nameless Nia's incredulous gaze, the provoked Auntie Ling climbed up in an extremely short amount of time, like a gecko. Great, Aunt Ling. It had nothing to do with me. It's all her. It was Aunt Ling. She beat me and insisted on taking me out to play. I was forced. Don't hit my face. In the living room of the mansion, Nameless Nia and Ling Miao were both holding water buckets. They were both punished by Auntie Ling say, I'm at least the only man in this family, but Great Aunt Ling doesn't respect me at all or show me any face. Is that appropriate? I want to rebel. She's crueler than my mom. Nameless Nia grumbled, brimming with disgruntlement. We deserve this punishment, Ling Miao replied aloofly. I think you're just used to being slaved around. Your kind of thinking is too frightening. What do you mean we deserve this punishment? I'm telling you, you have to rebel. Like when my parents made me go to school when I was in the independent state, I didn't go. What could they have done to me? Nameless Nia declared proudly. And then? Ling Miao was brimming with curiosity. A concept like resistance was much too foreign to her. And then they hired a private tutor for me at home. Sigh. Nameless Nia wanted to cry. Oh, then it's better to not rebel. Ling Miao shook her head. Wrong. Rebelling is a type of attitude. Nameless Nia had an enigmatic expression. You want to rebel, huh? Annie Ling's shouting was suddenly heard from upstairs. Great Annie Ling. It's Aunt Ling who wanted to rebel. You mustn't be angry. I'm trying to correct Aunt's thinking. I promise I can accomplish it. and I'll make her repent sincerely. Nameless Nia yelled back hastily. Ling meow. When Annie Ling was quiet again, Nameless Nia couldn't help but look at Ling meow. Say, do you really not know how to rebel? I was already doing you wrong like that, but you still didn't fight back? Ling meow turned to him. Didn't you say I'm your aunt? There's nothing wrong with me protecting you a little. The next morning at dawn, Nameless Nia was arranged to study together with Ling meow. You have your culture lessons today, personally taught by me, your most heroic and well-esteemed mother and great aunt, Ling meow announced to Nameless Nia and Ling meow, who were currently eating breakfast. Aunt, what level of education do you have, huh? You're teaching us? Nameless Nia questioned Annie Ling. Annie Ling was startled for a moment before she turned contemplative. I had 2 years of private school when I was young. In today's terms, that would be a kindergarten education. Nameless Nia was dumbfounded. What? You have objections? Auntie Ling viciously glared at Nameless Nia. Great Aunt Ling, that's great. Your education level suits me perfectly. I'll listen to your lessons well. Nameless Nia swore that this was the easiest culture class he'd ever attended. He never knew culture classes could be this uncultured. Chapter 2473, Side Story. Nameless Nia 6, Little Brat. You're quite good at math. Auntie Ling stared at Nameless Nia. Nameless Nia's lips turned up as he actually pulled out an archaic abacus from his jacket. Great Aunt Ling, just poke around the independent state. Who doesn't know that I, Nameless Nia, am the king of math, the supreme leader amongst prodigies? You know the Shun family of the independent state, right? They're the wealthiest clan in the independent state. But just watch. One day, I'll knock them down using my unparalleled math skills and business gear brain. Annie Ling's lips twitched. I finally understand why your parents sent you here. You have such superb talent, but you won't do something proper and want to run off to do business? Great Aunt Ling, you're too stupid. Nameless Nia sighed, his expression serious. Doing business is great. What's the point of learning martial arts as a boss? When I become a boss, I can hire countless martial arts experts for my usage, and I can establish my own mercenary team. I'm rich, and I would be the boss. So those experts would all have to listen to me. True, Annie Ling nodded. However, I'm afraid this reasoning doesn't suit the independent state, no? Nameless Nia's thoughts would be completely valid in the outside world. But what kind of place was the independent state? The Shin family was simply an exception. Not everyone could become the Nexian family. Anyway, does the Nye family lack money? The clan is prosperous and its business is flourishing, but they simply lack an expert to hold down the clan. Your parents are hoping you will come out successful, so stop thinking about these useless things. I'm confiscating the abacus. Annie Ling immediately took away his abacus. That's fine. Nameless Nia smirked as he pulled another item out of his pocket. I still have a calculator. Also confiscated. Annie Ling snatched the calculator. You. Nameless Nia turned furious at once. If you dare to curse, I'll slap your dirty mouth. Annie Ling threatened viciously. You did wonderfully. Nameless Nia immediately deflated like a leaking balloon. On the side, a rare faint smile actually appeared on Ling Miao's eternally glacial face. She also didn't know why this boy made her inexplicably happy, but watching him was like watching a comedy movie. Great Aunt, you confiscated my most valuable possessions. There's no meaning to my life anymore. That's super unfair. Nameless Nia appeared to be unable to take this lying down. What do you want then? You can snatch them back if you're capable. Annie Ling pursed her lips. I'm a civilized and upright person, so you must trade them with something of equal value. Nameless Nia displayed his businessman nature. Not waiting for her to respond, Nameless Nia continued, What's your most valuable possession, Annie Ling? My daughter, Auntie Ling blurted out. Then I will trade my calculator and my abacus for Aunt Ling Meow, Nameless Nia quickly said. Am I only worth a calculator and an abacus? Ling Meow looked at Nameless Nia with slightly furrowed brows. Annie Ling was intrigued. Why do you want Ling Meow? Why do you want my calculator and abacus? Nameless Nia retorted. How should I know? Annie Ling replied. And how should I know? Anyway, they're both our most valuable possessions, so it's fine as long as I'm not taking a loss, Nameless Nya said. Auntie Ling. All right, then we've come to a happy decision. Great Aunt Ling. Aunt Ling Meow will be mine from now on. So if you ever want to punish me, it'll be directed toward Aunt Ling Meow, and she'll take the punishment for me, Nameless Nya added after a moment of thought. Chapter 2474, Side Story. Nameless Nya 7, I don't agree, Ling Meow interjected. That won't work. This is a trade between Great Aunt Ling and I. Unless you make her return my calculator and abacus to me, Nameless Nya rebutted with a pout. Auntie Ling stared at Nameless Nya like he was an alien, unable to help herself from giving him a thumbs up. You're the most thick-faced and shameless person I've ever seen in my life. You're still young right now, but when you grow up, just how thick will your face become? Thick-faced. Nameless Nya looked at her in astonishment. Great Aunt Ling, how could you talk about me like that? How am I thick-faced? Please watch your words and don't hurt my fragile heart, all right? Auntie Ling. After Auntie Ling left, Nameless Nya glanced at Ling Meow and grinned. From now on, you'll be my attendant. Great Aunt Ling already sold you to me. Wait, no, she traded you to me. You have to listen to me and can't object to what I say or do anything different than what I tell you. Ling Meow didn't even look at Nameless Nya and turned around, heading upstairs to her bedroom. Nameless Nya hastily shouted, Hey, don't run away. I have to negotiate with the fatty nearby later. You need to come to bolster my courage. No. Ling Meow's voice drifted from upstairs. That fatty is the local tyrant around here. Don't provoke him. Fine. I'll go myself if you don't go. Nameless Nya snorted before leaving the house while swaggering. Nameless Nya, you bastard, you actually dared to deceive me? In the forest, the youth revealed a vicious expression as he stared at Nameless Nya. Fuck you, who deceived you? Nameless Nya retorted. You took my money and said you'd get your elder sister to go on a date with me, didn't you? The short and fat kid shouted. What you said is correct, but I also didn't break my word. Nameless Nya nodded without denying it. Some time ago, Nameless Nya got to know the famous fat local tyrant, and the two of them made a trade. The roly-poly kid would give Nameless Nya a certain amount of compensation, and Nameless Nya would introduce his elder sister to him. However, day after day passed, but Nameless Nya still didn't fulfill his promise, and the roly-poly kid, who still hadn't seen Ling Meow, finally became impatient. Since you admit it, great. Tell me how we should resolve this matter? The roly-poly kid irritatedly looked at Nameless Nya. Resolve what? I'll definitely keep my promise and bring my sister here, Nameless Nya said. Give me a time frame. Just when will you bring Ling Meow to me? The roly-poly kid questioned him. Nameless Nya was startled and exclaimed with a surprised expression, What Ling Meow? Who said I'll bring Ling Meow to you? Nameless Nya, I've given you the money already. Are you playing with me? Uh-huh. The roly-poly kid looked ferocious. You promised you'd bring your sister to me yourself. Nameless Nya shook his head, though. Damn fatso, I did say that, but Ling Meow is my aunt, not my sister. I said I would bring my sister to you. I didn't say I'd bring my aunt to you, correct? What did you say? The fatso was dumbfounded. Ling Meow's age was very similar to Nameless Nya. So how was she an entire generation above him? His aunt? Nameless Nya, you bastard. All right then. Didn't you ask about my reputation around here? You dare trick me? You're dead. The roly-poly kid had a menacing expression. Chapter 2475, Side Story. Nameless Nya 8. Nameless Nya glared at the fatty. Blah. Come here if you're so great. Your grandfather Nameless will knock out your front teeth. I'll own you. Nameless Nya, you piece of shit. You dare to act so arrogant with me. The roly-poly kid was furious. Hold on. Nameless Nya called out when he saw the fatty ferociously charging toward him. How about this? Give me a little more money, and I'll bring my aunt here and introduce her to you. What do you think? It's useless even if you bring your mom here. The fatty picked up a rock from the ground. You'll be my father if I don't kill you today. Huh? They all say you're the famous tyrant around here. But how come I can't tell it all? What era is it? You want to do a 1v1 with me? Nameless Nya hastily said when he saw the fatty's intentions. The roly-poly kid paused, not understanding Nameless Nya's meaning. He demanded frankly, Nameless Nya, you piece of shit. What do you mean? What do I mean? Nameless Nya snorted. Let's set up a fight if you have balls. What's so great about 1v1? We can't show off our positions or statuses with that at all. How about this? We'll decide on a time and place, and each find our own people if we can. Whoever can bring more people is mightier. Whoever wins will be the new tyrant in this town. How about that? The fatty was quiet for a moment, as though he was considering it. Ha ha ha, damn fatso. I bet you can't summon anyone, so you must be terrified to death right now. How about you give me a kowtow, and we'll leave this matter behind us? Nameless Nya mocked. Bullshit. The roly-poly kid viciously glared at Nameless Nya. I'm afraid? Haha, what a funny joke. I've never cried once since I was born. The word afraid doesn't exist in my dictionary. I don't even know how to write it. Then let's set up a fight time. Nameless Nya taunted. All right, let's do it. I'm telling you, I have 20 brothers. We'll meet up here again tomorrow afternoon. Whoever doesn't come is a runt. The fatty declared. Sure, whoever doesn't come is a runt. Nameless Nya nodded. Nearby, Ling Miao frowned lightly. Nameless Nya actually used her to conduct business and offended this little tyrant. She was originally a little worried about Nameless Nya's safety, but after following him, she discovered her worries were unfounded. It wouldn't be a loss even if he was beaten to death by this fatty. Not only did he bargain with her, but he also solicited a fight. He barely knew anyone here. Even if he did, no one would be willing to provoke that little tyrant. Who could Nameless Nya find to help him? When Ling Miao got home, she thought Nameless Nya would seek help from her or her mom, but he didn't mention a word. The next day, at the agreed-upon time, they were in the same small forest as yesterday. The roly-poly kid really did bring a dozen or so youths. Soon, Nameless Nya appeared in the roly-poly kid's line of sight. Ha! Nameless Nya, you piece of shit. How many people did you bring? The fatty was gloating. Oh, I brought only one person, Nameless Nya replied. One person? The fatty was startled briefly before bursting into laughter. You're really suicidal. Come on, call out the wimpy bastard you brought here. You can't talk like that. What wimpy bastard? How could you curse like that? Nameless Nya declared. You mustn't curse. Be civilized. Chapter 2476, Side Story. Nameless Nya 9. So what if I cursed? You did bring a wimpy bastard. Coward. Piece of trash. The fatty mocked. Sigh. Nameless Nya sighed and turned to the woods behind him. Come out, uncle. A second later, a man holding a leather belt marched out from the trees. When the fatty saw the man, he jolted and his expression dropped. The fatty never expected the person Nameless Nya brought would actually be his dad. As Nameless Nya watched the fatty chased around by the man holding the whip, he dug out a bag of seed from his pocket. You're welcome, uncle. Children have to be disciplined from a young age. He's so young, but he's already learned how to arrange fights. So what will he do when he grows up? You should just beat him to death now. Little mongrel, you already know how to arrange fights, huh? You don't know anything or have any skills, and I sent you to school, but you actually ditched class? The man mercilessly whipped the fatty with his belt. Dad, I won't do it again. I really won't do it again. Scream after scream tore out of the fatty's mouth. He'd been struck several times by the belt already. I'll show you how I'm going to clean house today. I'll make you learn your lesson. The man sounded disappointed. The companions brought by the fatty were all stupefied and dazed. No one could have expected the boy who proposed the fight to be this thick-faced. He actually summoned the parents and called the father. It was clearly him who proposed a fight, all right? How could he possibly be this shameless? Nearby, Nameless Nya cracked a seed open before smacking his lips. Sigh, that's right. He's misbehaved at such a young age, learned from bad apples, and looks at bad people as models. When he grows up, he'll definitely become a pest for society. Uncle, your son was forcing me to introduce my aunt to him to befriend her. When I wasn't willing, he cursed me out and hit me. The fatty wanted to say something, but immediately suffered another whiplash. He could only cradle his head and burrow to avoid the pain. That's not all. He steals all the pocket money my great aunt gives me every day, saying it's a protection fee I owe him. If I don't give him the money, he beat me and has beaten me to tears a few times. Nameless Nya sighed. As the fatty wailed, he viciously glared at Nameless Nya. Freaking. It was obviously this piece of shit who conned his money. Dad, he's the one who tricked me out of my money, the fatty yelled. However, the man immediately cracked a whip onto his son's back again. You've learned how to lie, huh? Look at how old he is and how old you are. Yet you're saying he tricked you out of your money? I'm going to kill you today. The fatty had nowhere to shed his tears, despair written all over his face. And you were forcing Nameless to bring his aunt out. Huh? Wimpy bastard. What do you want to do? Do you want to take off into space? How old are you, huh? The more the man spoke, the angrier he got. He raised his belt and kept chasing his son. After beating the fatty for half an hour, the man tossed aside the belt, ripped from its use, and walked over to Nameless Nya. How much money did my plump kid steal from you? It wasn't that much actually. It's just grocery money my great aunt gives me every day. It's about this much. Nameless Nya pointed a few fingers up. What a good child. You know to help your family out at such a young age and know how to buy groceries. The man exasperatedly shook his head as he glanced at his own kid. Here's the money back. Uncle will return it to you. If he bullies you again, come and tell Uncle, the man said. All right, Uncle. Thank you, Uncle. Nameless Nya frantically nodded. Chapter 2477, Side Story. Nameless Nya 10. I earn a lot of money on the side of the road. No one stopped me. Let me earn more. Nameless Nya seemed to be in quite a good mood after watching the fatty suffer a round of fierce beating from his father. He carried the money the fatty's father gave him and skipped his way home while humming a song. Far away, Ling Miao, who secretly followed Nameless Nya to the forest, didn't know what to say as she watched this scene in front of her. Nameless Nya's appearance had introduced her to a whole new world. From now on, all the youths within 10 miles of this town would know of Nameless Nya, and no one would be willing to provoke him. Great Aunt Ling, do you think I run fast? Inside the mansion, Nameless Nya was running swiftly. Fast. Auntie Ling placed down a plate of fruit on the coffee table. My martial arts skills are already at the peak. I'm invincible. Nameless Nya declared with mirth. Auntie Ling and Ling Miao were both dumbfounded. How is this weakling invincible? Aren't you just running a little fast? Auntie Ling replied. Nameless Nya smiled faintly at Auntie Ling, his expression enigmatic. Only speed can't be beaten in the world of martial arts. Auntie Ling. Ling Miao. Nameless Nya didn't know how long he maintained this sort of lifestyle. But the longer he kept it up, the more he became used to it, and he even enjoyed it incredibly. Many years passed. At a desolate area outside of a town, there was a tall and handsome man in a sports outfit. Next to him was a girl with a cool expression, not prone to speech nor smiles. She had a glacial aura. She resembled an aloof saintess who stood above the mass and kept people from approaching easily. Ling Miao, what do you think old Ling was thinking? Why did she make us become some bullshit mercenaries? Being a mercenary is fine, but what's the deal with not getting paid? Is she treating us like free labor? Nameless Nya complained. Ling Miao glanced at Nameless Nya. If you don't like it, you can go back. That won't do. Old Ling would beat me to death if I went back. Forget it. After we get this job done, I'll definitely make Old Ling pay me his salary. Nameless Nya replied after a moment of thought. That man and woman can't be the mercenaries hired by that woman, right? Far away, two pretty-looking men evaluated Nameless Nya and Ling Miao. Merciful Buddha, this poor monk thinks they should be the mercenaries, the pretty man dressed in Taoist attire answered. Who cares if they are or not? We'll kill them first. That man is quite good-looking. Sigh, look at that woman next to him. It's obvious she's a vixen, a hussy, a slut who specializes in seducing men. I'll make her beg for death. The other pretty man dressed in bright red robes declared. Merciful Buddha, you just think she's beautiful, the Taoist devotee retorted. Bullshit. How is she pretty? She can't compare to 1/10,000th of me. The red-robed man ridiculed. After saying that, the red-robed man swiftly dashed over and arrived next to Nameless Nia and Ling Miao. I developed this road and I planted this tree. So if you want to pass, leave your life behind, the red-robed man said gravely. Who are you? Nameless Nia glanced at the red-robed man. You haven't even heard of my name before? I'm the pine tree standing above thousands of bushes. The red-robed man replied. Your surname is Bushes, and your name is Pine Tree, standing above thousands of? Nameless Nia asked curiously. This, madam, is called Spray of Flowers, the red-robed man shouted. Oh, Spray of Flowers, what do you want? Nameless Nia inquired. I developed this road, and I planted this tree. So if you want to pass, leave your life behind, the red-robed man repeated. Nameless Nia immediately scrutinized the surroundings. There aren't any trees here, though. Chapter 2478, Side Story. Nameless Nia 11. Are you freaking pretending to be stupid, or are you really stupid? Spray of Flowers was dumbfounded. Was the problem whether there was a tree or not? Plus, there isn't any earth here. It's all sand and dust. Could you be a road repairer? Nameless Nia inquired further. Merciful Buddha. At this moment, a man dressed in a Taoist devotee outfit walked over with a smile on his face. Patron, your Afrion is looking black. I want to read your fortune for you. The little Taoist devotee continued. When Ling Miao saw this duo, her brows furrowed. Spray of Flowers. Taoist devotee. Perhaps other people didn't know these two people, but Ling Miao had heard about them in recent years. Vicious and merciless, slaughtering countless people. Merciful Buddha, patron, I've looked at your face. I think you'll definitely have an injury of some sort in your upcoming days. If you're willing to spend some money, patron, this poor monk is willing to break this blood curse for you. The Taoist devotee looked grim. Are you actually a Taoist devotee or a monk? Nameless Nia examined the Taoist devotee. Patron, are you blind? The Taoist devotee spun in a circle. This poor monk is a Taoist devotee, of course. Ah, I see. Nameless Nia appeared pensive. Merciful Buddha isn't suitable. You should say heavenly venerate immeasurable. This poor monk also isn't suitable. That's unimportant, Taoist devotee replied with a chuckle. If I'm correct, you two are the mercenaries hired by Ling Yan, correct? What, you know Annie Ling? Nameless Nia inquired curiously. When Ling Yan was young, she swept across the land, so of course I've heard of her name. Since that was your response, it appears you really are Ling Yan's mercenaries, the Taoist devotee said. What a coincidence. Your target this time is Zhao Yeqiao, while the two of us were hired by Zhao Yeqiao. So look, are you going to return the way you came, or are you going to set home here permanently? Nameless Nia smiled and raised his right arm. With a giant boom, he punched the red-robed man several meters back. Attacked by Nameless Nia without warning, Spray of Flowers wailed ceaselessly, trying to clutch his head. Don't you think you're too arrogant? Nameless Nia questioned. Spray of Flowers protested. He's arrogant, so why the heck did you hit me? Hit him? Why did you hit me, huh? Nameless Nia was startled. Bam! A second later, before Taoist devotee could react, he was sent flying back with a punch from Nameless Nia. Sassy, you're right, Nameless Nia said. Ling Miao. Ling Miao couldn't help but take a few looks at him. Since the day Nameless Nia came to her home, Mother said Nameless Nia was extremely talented. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. However, Ling Miao never would have expected Nameless Nia to have gotten to his current state in martial arts despite lacking perseverance and continuity in his studies. It wouldn't be an overstatement to call him a genius. Damn Taoist, let's kill this adulterous couple. Spray of Flowers stood up with clenched teeth. Don't spout nonsense. Ling Miao frowned. I'm his aunt. Huh, aunt? Spray of Flowers and Taoist devotee looked at each other, bewildered. This woman took good care of herself. What brand of skincare products do you use? Spray of flowers blurted out almost reflexively. Ling meow. You're so arrogant that you won't even answer? You trampy vixen. Spray of flowers turned to Taoist devotee. Don't waste time with them. Let's kill this adulterous couple. Ling meow. 7 to 8 minutes later, nameless Nya was sitting on top of Taoist devotee and spray of flowers. Even though you're quite martially strong, you ran into grandfather nameless, so you still have a ways to go. Chapter 2479, Side Story. Nameless Nya 12, Ling Meow. How do you think we should deal with them? Nameless Nya asked Ling Meow cheerily. However you please, Ling Meow replied expressionlessly. Nameless Nya thought over it. How about killing them? Ling Meow nodded. Wait, you said your name is Nameless? Taoist devotee hastily cried. Your grandfather Nameless doesn't change his name whether he travels or stays at home, Nameless Nya said. Don't tell me your surname is Nya. Taoist devotee continued. Nameless Nya and Ling Meow were both surprised. How did this Taoist devotee know? How do you know my surname? Nameless Nya was curious. Damn, your surname is really freaking Nya. It's not a coincidence, right? Taoist devotee was more astonished than Nameless Nya. Before Nameless Nya could respond, Taoist devotee said, Don't tell me you're Nameless Nya of the Nya family, from Yun City in the Independent State. Damn, you know that too? Did you look into me? Nameless Nya was startled. Damn quack, you know him? Spray of flowers quickly asked from his spot underneath, Nameless Nya. Captain, it really is you. I thought you had died. Taoist devotee hugged Nameless Nya's thigh. Don't try to play close with me. What captain? I've never seen you before, Nameless Nya said. It's me, Baldy. Back then, in the Independent State, I was a member of the Nameless Caravan. There was only the two of us in the caravan. You were the captain, and I was a member. Have you forgotten? Taoist devotee looked worked up. Nameless Nya was stunned as he looked at Taoist devotee. You're Baldy? Taoist devotee nodded frantically. That's right, I'm Baldy. You've tricked money out of me when I was young. You said it was my tuition fee, made me follow you and join the Nameless Caravan, then we got rich together. You take me to feast on liquor and meat. Shit, it really is you, bastard. Nameless Nya lifted Taoist devotee up. Then you ran to the Nya residence and told my mom I tricked money from you. My dad and my mom both gave me a beating together, huh? That happened? Why didn't I know? No, that absolutely didn't happen. Taoist devotee vehemently shook his head. I'm guessing it was someone else tricked by you who tattled on you. I definitely didn't do it. Bullshit. My mom said it was a little shady-looking badly who tattled on me while licking his snot. Who else could it be but you? You freaking loved to lick your snot the most when you were young. Nameless Nya said. Taoist devotee. Spray of flowers. Damn quack. You were actually that disgusting? Captain, a real man doesn't boast about his past achievements. I didn't see you ever since that. So I thought you had been beaten to death by your mom. Taoist devotee sighed. I originally planned to learn trade and business from you, but then you were gone, so I could only learn martial arts. I'm working for someone now. I was out of money recently, so I became a mercenary for Zhao Yeqiao. You mustn't seek out Zhao Yeqiao. He's laid down a foolproof trap already, and he's just waiting for you. Damn quack, you betrayed us this fast, Spray of Flowers exclaimed. Nonsense, we grew up playing in the mud together since we were kids. Nameless Nya glanced at Spray of Flowers. Spray of Flowers. Nameless Nya glanced at Taoist devotee. Why are you a mercenary? Work for me from now on. My Nameless Caravan will blossom brilliantly from now on and replace the Shun family. I believe you, Captain. It absolutely won't be a problem with your shamelessness. We have to carry out our promise from when we were kids. We'll eat whatever we want and make the Shun family serve tea and water for us. We'll eat swallow's nest and shark fin and toss away a bowl for every bowl we drink. Taoist devotee nodded eagerly. Baldy, you're right. You know me best. Nameless Nya said. Captain, how much starting funds do you have? Taoist devotee asked curiously. I don't have any right now, Nameless Nya replied after a moment of thought. Taoist devotee. Chapter 2480, Side Story. Nameless Nya 13 Taoist devotee stared at Nameless Nya, grumbles flaring up inside of him. Based on his understanding of Nameless Nya, it wasn't probable for him to not have any money. Putting aside the fact that Nameless Nya was a master of trickery and had been swindling since he was young, with his personality of being able to use 10 cents like it was $10, he should be able to save up quite a bit of money. How could he be out of money? Captain, if you don't have money, you must have something else, right? Taoist devotee furtively asked him. The corners of Nameless Nya's lips turned up, and his expression was confident. You're right. Just what do you have, Captain? Taoist devotee was invigorated instantly. Nameless Nya was silent for a moment before responding. I have a dream. Captain, see how it's getting late? We still have something to take care of. How about this? We'll get together another time. I'll buy you a meal next time, Taoist devotee said. Nameless Nya immediately sent Taoist devotee a few glances. Understand, you're hinting at me to buy you a meal. Taoist devotee, when did I make a hint? The town is nearby. Ling Miao spoke up quietly. I happen to have a few questions to ask you too. Gorgeous has spoken. Let's go. Nameless Nya picked up Spray of Flowers. Isn't she your aunt? Spray of Flowers was curious. So what if she's my aunt? Nameless Nya asked. She's your aunt, but you don't call her aunt. You call her Gorgeous? Spray of Flowers asked. Isn't my aunt gorgeous? Nameless Nya retorted. She is gorgeous, then that's enough. Spray of Flowers. While that was true, he still felt like something was off. Near evening, the four of them finally arrived at the nearby town. All right, tell me, what do you want to eat? I'm paying today, Nameless Nya announced generously. Captain, how about we go eat? Before Taoist devotee could finish, Nameless Nya suddenly pointed at a food stall on the side of the road. I'll buy you guys some egg fried rice. We'll add an extra egg for everyone and ask the owner to give us some appetizers on the house. Taoist devotee. Spray of Flowers glanced at Nameless Nya. Aren't you too stingy? Even if we're willing to eat egg fried rice, your beautiful aunt might not want to eat it. What is it about egg fried rice, huh? My beautiful aunt is never picky. Nameless Nya snorted and turned to Ling Miao. Beautiful aunt, do you want to eat some egg fried rice paired with some salted vegetables? Ling Miao shook her head. You've already taken me to eat 4 days of egg fried rice and dumplings. Let's eat something else. Eaten 4 days of egg fried rice and dumplings? Spray of Flowers and Taoist devotee stared at each other, bewildered. Hey, Captain, how about we go eat a Western meal? Worst comes to worst, Spray of Flowers will pay. Taoist devotee turned to Nameless Nya. Spray of Flowers' eyes shot open. Why should I have to pay? You guys are the ones who grew up playing in the mud together. You finally met up again after so many years. So aren't you guys too shameless to make me an outsider pay? Where's your face? Look at what you're saying. We're all children of vagrants, so we don't care about those unnecessary cordialities. The most important thing is being happy. It doesn't matter who pays. I don't care, Nameless Nya said. I care. Spray of Flowers rebutted bluntly. Forget it. I will pay. Ling Miao interjected after some time. Are you joking? Do you think I can't pay? Why do you need to pay? Nameless Nya frowned and shot a glance at Taoist devotee and Spray of Flowers with a snort. Those two are seriously too stingy. Spray of Flowers, Taoist devotee. It was clearly Nameless Nya himself who suggested he would pay, but now he was calling them stingy. Chapter 2481, Side Story. Nameless Nya 14 soon. They found a mid-tier Western restaurant. After the group was seated, the server handed several menus to them. Captain, I'll have a steak, and some foie gras, a cream soup, and also a salad, Taoist devotee said. Same for me, Spray of Flowers said. What? Steak? Foie gras? Don't you know those are unhealthy? Us martial arts practitioners live our lives on the edge of a blade, so we must eat healthily. What if we ate something bad before fighting with an enemy and got a stomachache? Nameless Nya frowned and turned to the server. Give them both a bowl of egg fried rice with some salted vegetables. Spray of flowers. Taoist devotee. Ling Miao. The server looked troubled. Sir, this is a Western restaurant. We don't have egg fried rice and salted vegetables. Our steak is quite nice, though. How about you give it a try? Then give them a salad each, Nameless Nia said. Sir, are you sure you only want 2 salads? The server asked after shooting Taoist devotee and spray of flowers a glance. I'm sure, Nameless Nia said. All right. Then what would you and this ma'am like to order? The server inquired. Give this beautiful Mrs. Steak, foie gras, salad, cream soup, and also a dessert. I would like a steak for myself, Nameless Nia replied. Taoist devotee, spray of flowers. What happened to how those things were unhealthy? What happened to not wanting to get a stomachache? What about liquor? Do you want any? The server asked. Captain, we haven't seen each other for so many years. We can forget about the other stuff, but we must have a few drinks together. Taoist devotee hastily said. Nameless Nia nodded. You're right. How about this? We'll order the best liquor they have, the highest grade and the most expensive. Sir, we have a lot of top-grade liquor here. What would you like? The server responded with a smile. Give us 2 jars of Matai. I want the best and most expensive one. Nameless Nia waved his hand. The server's lip twitched. Sorry, sir. We don't have Matai here. You don't have Matai? Nameless Nia sighed. You guys don't have this or that. You don't know how to earn money. How are you conducting your business? My sincerest apologies, sir, but we are a Western restaurant. Will a red wine be all right? The server suggested. Hold on. Nameless Nia picked up the menu and flipped to the liquor page. All right. Red wine, then. Give me a bottle of Louis XIII, 1876. The server's smile was awkward. Sir, we don't have that. Then give me a bottle of Chateau Lafite, 1787, Nameless Nia said. The server's smile disappeared. Sir, the wine you're ordering is probably more expensive than our restaurant. We really can't provide it. If you don't have anything, what shitty business are you doing? Nameless Nia was displeased. Give me 4 glasses of plain water. Sir, we're truly sorry. The server sighed. What use is saying sorry? How about this? Just give us 2 dishes on the house, and we'll consider an apology, Nameless Nia said. Captain, how about I pay? Taoist devotee looked at Nameless Nia, dumbfounded. Are you kidding? I already said I'd pay. Of course, if you really want to pay, you can. Nameless Nia turned to the server. Give us the best bottles of wine your restaurant has. Also, give me another order of steak, an order of foie gras, a dessert, and a bowl of cream soup. He's paying. Chapter 2482, Side Story. Nameless Nia 15. What's your face? Nameless Nia turned to spray of flowers. Spray of pine. Spray of flowers, lips twitched. It's spray of flowers. Spray of flowers. Do you want to join the group? Nameless Nia asked with a smile. Even if this madam dies and doesn't have a home to return to, I won't collude with you, a criminal. Spray of flowers snorted. Nameless Nia eerily said, Of course, you can choose to decline, but I'd have to kill you. After all, you're a mercenary sent by Zhao Yechao. Actually, I think it'd be fine if I joined too. After all, you're so good at business, so I think I can live in the lap of luxury by following you. Spray of Flowers' expression changed, and he hastily corrected himself with a smile. You finally said something right. Living in the lap of luxury is the most basic standard, Nameless Nia said. After learning about Taoist devotee and Spray of Flowers' price for hire, Nameless Nia's eyes shone. He clicked with the 2 of them easily and formed a mercenary team. What's the mercenary group called? Taoist devotee looked at Nameless Nia. Nameless Nia mulled over it for a moment. It's called Lots of Money Mercenary Team. Taoist devotee, Spray of Flowers. Ling Miao. Captain, Lots of Money Mercenary Team. Doesn't sound fierce at all. I think we should be called the World Go Round Mercenary Team. No way. I think the name Wealthiest Mercenary Group is fiercer. Taoist devotee interjected. Nameless Nia. That's worse than my lots of money. I still think World Goes Around is better. Money will make the world go round. It's so meaningful. Nameless Nia looked at Ling Miao shortly after. Beautiful aunt. How about you think of a name for us? Ling Miao didn't say anything and picked up a pen from the table, writing a line of words on a piece of white paper. God-killing mercenary team. After filling their stomachs, Nameless Nia told Taoist devotee and spray of flowers to head home first. Nameless Nia got a lot of intelligence from them, including how Zhao Yeqiao was sending many experts to ambush him and Ling Miao, and how he also possessed firearms. Nameless Nia instructed Taoist devotee to go back and take care of the firearms first. In the woods, Nameless Nia caught Ling Miao, who fell down from a tree, and seized the opportunity to carry her in his arms. Release me. A light blush crept over Ling Miao's cheeks. Okay. Nameless Nia reflexively let go, and Ling Miao crashed onto the ground with a bang. Ling Miao's face was as black as the bottom of a pan. What? I told you not to go on that tree to pick the fruit, but you wouldn't listen. So you fell, no? Nameless Nia shrugged. Ling Miao ignored Nameless Nia in the end and worriedly sat down at the base of the tree. Are those two people trustworthy? If they weren't trustworthy, I wouldn't have let them go back, Nameless Nia replied aloofly, his smile fading. Nameless Nia paused briefly. Nameless Nia is the killer of your father. Since old Ling asked us to do this task, we must accomplish it. But I'm worried. Ling Miao knitted her brows. No need to worry. Nameless Nia looked at her and gently grasped both of her hands. I'm here. Ling Miao shuddered and reflexively pulled back her hands. Nameless Nia pursed his lips. What is this? You held my hand every day when you were young. How come you can hold it, but I can't? Ling Miao exasperatedly glanced at him and was quiet for a moment before stretching her hand out. Here. Nameless Nia was just mouthing off and didn't expect Ling Miao to really extend her hand. The tips of his ears reddened inexplicably as he slowly reached out and gently clasped the girl's soft hands. Chapter 2483, Side Story. Nameless Nia 16 several days later, inside a forest. Thanks to Taoist devotee and spray of flowers acting as spies, all of Zhao Yeqiao's plans collapsed within 3 days, and he was killed with a punch from Nameless Nia. God-killing mercenaries was officially established. Every other year, Nameless Nia would make a 2-month trip to the independent state. 2 months later, he'd return to that little town and endure Annie Ling's boundless nagging and occasional beating. Many years later, as Nameless Nia looked at this incredibly familiar town, an indescribable tenderness surfaced in his eyes. The Ferris wheel had been torn down, and the mansion looked much older. However, those two people didn't change much in his memories. Old Ling, open the door. Nameless Nia shouted. Auntie Ling instantly opened the door. My little ancestor, when did you come back? Annie Ling was still as beautiful as the day they first met. It was as if time hadn't left any marks on her face. I just came back. I wanted to surprise you. Nameless Nia strode into the living room with a traveling bag on his back. Good job, you little brat. You took 2 years to come back, and you didn't even call us. Annie Ling quickly pulled out some fruits. Old Ling, what delicious food are you barbecuing? Nameless Nia sniffed the air. You came back a good time. Ling Miao's boyfriend also came over today and brought a lot of game. Annie Ling answered happily. The smile on Nameless Nia's face froze instantly and disappeared. Boyfriend, is that so? When did that happen? Nameless Nia was absent-minded. They had a matchmaking session a few days ago, Annie Ling said. Matchmaking? Nameless Nia furrowed his brows. Old Ling, that's too careless. They don't know each other. Do you know who the other person is, what their character is like, what their family background is? Even if you wanted to find someone, you should find someone whose background you know well and everyone is familiar with, right? What nonsense are you saying? You don't need to worry about your aunt's business. I've watched over that boy for a very long time. If he wasn't suitable, I definitely wouldn't have arranged for him and your aunt to be together. Annie Ling sliced an apple for Nameless Nia. Eat it. When it's dinner time, I'll cook a few dishes for you. When Annie Ling went to the kitchen, Nameless Nia set down the apple and stood up immediately, heading toward the study. The study door was shut fully, a man's laughter occasionally drifting out. For some reason, an inexplicable, insuppressible fury surged inside of Nameless Nya. Bam! Nameless Nya kicked open the door. Inside the study, the girl's gaze landed on the entering Nameless Nya. The man wore glasses and had a chubby physique. He jolted in fright from Nameless Nya's actions. "Who are you?" The man was displeased as he looked at Nameless Nya. Nameless Nya ignored the man and stopped next to Ling Miao. "Who's he?" "Boyfriend," Ling Miao replied. "Boyfriend? How come I didn't know?" Nameless Nya questioned apathetically. "Ling Miao, he is," the man asked with a frown. "My nephew," Ling Miao answered. "Nephew?" The man was startled. He never expected this handsome and fit youth to actually be Ling Miao's nephew. Moreover, wasn't this nephew similar in age to Ling Miao? "Ha! So you're her nephew. Then there might be some misunderstanding," the man said with a clap on Nameless Nya's shoulder and a smile that he thought was cordial. However, for some reason, when the man's hand touched Nameless Nya's shoulder, his whole body shuddered and he staggered backward clumsily. Chapter 2484, Side Story. Nameless Nya 17, what did you call me? Nameless Nya turned his head, his bright eyes filled with a terrifying shadow. Ling Miao. The man trembled in fright from Nameless Nya's gaze. He'd never seen such a frightening gaze before. Even a ferocious beast from a zoo couldn't compare to 1/10,000th of this. "Nameless Nya, don't make trouble." Ling Miao shot Nameless Nya a displeased glance. "Oh, did I disturb you?" Nameless Nya turned around and slammed the study door shut, splintering the wood in several places. Ling Miao didn't say anything to this, appearing to be deep in thought. Back in the living room, Nameless Nya tossed his traveling bag on his back again and attempted to leave. However, when he reached the door, he spun around and went back, throwing his traveling bag on the sofa again and sitting down on it as well. "Little brat, what are you doing? What's up with the big commotion?" Annie Ling asked Nameless Nya as she served the dishes on the dining table soon after. "Nothing. I was just a little hungry." "You took so long to finish, old Ling. Did you want to starve me to death?" Nameless Nya asked Annie Ling, "Look at you. It's been so many years, but you're still so impatient. Call your aunt and her boyfriend to come out for dinner." Annie Ling took off her apron. "Okay." Nameless Nya stood up and walked to the study, kicking the door open. After saying that, Nameless Nya turned and left. "Ling Miao, does your nephew have some misunderstanding about me? Why do I feel like something is off?" the man asked Ling Miao. Ling Miao smiled and shook her head. "It doesn't have anything to do with you." Ling Miao stood up and straightened up the books on the desk before walking to the dining room, shoulder to shoulder with the man. The man wanted to hold Ling Miao's right hand, but was dodged by her. "Aren't you going to be mine eventually?" the man thought bitterly. At the dining table, Annie Ling sat at the head of the table while Nameless Nya sat next to the man. "Annie Ling, thank you for your hard work in making this table of delicious food." The man praised Annie Ling with a polite smile. "It's nothing. Eat more," Auntie Ling replied. "Little brat, here's some hair." Annie Ling picked up a piece of hare meat and placed it in Nameless Nya's bowl. "I won't eat it. I'm friend with rabbits," Nameless Nya replied aloofly. Aunt Ling said, "Then eat this. It's boar." "No, boars are my brothers," Nameless Nya said. "Is your nephew's head all right?" the man whispered, leaning close to Ling Miao. "Ling Miao, Li Chun, how are your parents doing?" Annie Ling asked the man. "Thank you for your concern, Auntie Ling. My parents are doing rather well. You know how my family has too many companies. So many things require my father's personal attention. My father said he'll definitely personally pay a visit when he has time," Li Chun said. "Annie Ling, it's a bit hot. Can we increase the AC?" Nameless Nya suddenly interjected. Before Annie Ling could answer, Li Chun said, "I think the temperature is perfect. Are you hot?" Nameless Nya turned to Ling Miao. "A little," Ling Miao replied. Break up. "You guys are unsuitable," Nameless Nya said. "What?" Both Annie Ling and Li Chun were startled. "How are we unsuitable for each other?" Li Chun questioned. The temperature's unsuitable, Nameless Nia answered. Ah, you really know how to joke, nephew, Li Chun said. Chapter 2485, Side Story. Nameless Nia, should you be calling me nephew? A bone-chilling glint surfaced in Nameless Nia's eyes. Your aunt and I will eventually get married. So aren't you going to eventually be my nephew? Li Chun replied. You'll eventually die. So why don't you go die now? Nameless Nia retorted. Little brat, what are you doing? Ling Miao frowned at Nameless Nia. What trouble are you making here? Fine, I won't cause trouble. Keep eating. Nameless Nia shrugged. 7 days later, Li Chun led his parents to the Ling family's mansion. At the dining table, Li Chun's parents officially proposed marriage. Then it's decided. Let's set a date, Li Chun's father said calmly. Let's do the 3rd of February on the lunar calendar, Li Chun suggested. That day is unlucky. Nameless Nia suddenly interjected. Unlucky, Li Chun was startled. Then 3rd of March on the lunar calendar. That's an auspicious date. Unlucky, Nameless Nia said. Ah, then I'd like to hear what date is auspicious. Li Chun snorted. Nameless Nia glanced at Li Chun. If it's you, every day is unlucky. What did you say? Li Chun's father shot up to his feet instantly as he asked harshly. Do I need to repeat myself? Nameless Nia asked aloofly. Punk, I'll overlook your behavior since you're Ling Miao's nephew, but don't act insolently here. Otherwise, no one can save you. Li Chun warned darkly. I've looked into you. Nameless Nia apathetically picked up some food from a dish on the table. Your family does have some power here. Many factions have relationships with your family, and you're no stranger to murder and arson. To put it plainly, it wouldn't be an overstatement to call you a local tyrant. Nameless Nia's lips curled up, and his appearance was harmless. However, keep in mind who you're talking to. If I wasn't taking old Ling into consideration, based on the attitude you took with me just now, you would be dead already. Little brat, what mischief are you making? Annie Ling admonished him quickly. However, Nameless Nia walked to Ling Miao instead. You like him? It isn't a matter of like or dislike, Ling Miao replied. Nameless Nia snorted. So you're still like that. You're fine as long as old Ling wants it. Ling Miao looked up and examined Nameless Nia, their eyes meeting. However, perhaps there's one thing you've forgotten, Nameless Nia said aloofly. I got you by trading my abacus and calculator. You already belong to me. Before Ling Miao could speak, Nameless Nia grasped Ling Miao by her chin and ruthlessly kissed her lips. Nameless Nia was claiming his territory. This scene dumbfounded Li Chun, Annie Ling, and the others, disbelief filling them. When Ling Miao finally regained her senses and attempted to struggle, it was useless. She didn't know whether she was unable to break free or didn't want to break free. Since the day you met me more than 10 years ago, you weren't allowed to escape. You can only be mine. I'll slaughter the entire family of anyone who dares to hold any ulterior motives toward you and prevent you from getting married to anyone your whole life, unless it's me. Nameless Nia's lips curled into a smirk as he stared at Ling Miao. Little brat. Annie Ling's whole face was red as she stood up. Old Ling, you mustn't hit me. You can't beat me now anyway. I might not dare to retaliate, but we should talk reason. Nameless Nia continued with a smile. You broke off my path of being a business genius back then and took away my most precious abacus and calculator. So naturally, your most precious daughter could only become mine. We had a gentleman's agreement. Chapter 2486, Side Story. Nameless Nia 19, bastard, you actually dared to kiss Ling Miao? Li Chun suddenly drew a gun from his pocket. However, before Li Chun could aim the gun at Nameless Nia, he was kicked several meters back by Nameless Nia, and his gun was also snatched. You. Li Chun's father reached inside his jacket. Sit down. I'll only say it once. Nameless Nia popped up behind Li Chun's father and pressed his right hand on the man's shoulder. An enormous force caused Li Chun's father to immediately sit back down in his seat. Nameless Nia used the opportunity to pull out the gun from Li Chun's father's jacket too. You've seriously gotten used to running amok. Both father and son carry this kind of toy with them. Nameless Nia threw the guns onto the dining table. Little brat, you've gone too far. Annie Ling appeared to be truly angry. Old Ling, I'll say it bluntly. I want to marry your daughter. Nameless Nia declared to Annie Ling. Does your opinion matter? Annie Ling was furious. Fine, we'll let Ling Miao decide then. Nameless Nia's eyes landed on Ling Miao. If you're not willing, Ling Miao stared at Nameless Nia. Am willing. Ling Miao exploded. You wretch, what did you say? This will be the first and last time in my life I'll resist you. Ling Miao looked at Auntie Ling. I want to be with him. Auntie Ling wilted. Just what did these two? Nameless Nia had grown up in her home since he was young, so Auntie Ling considered him her own child. How could she accept these two children being together? Nameless Nia's gaze shot toward Ling Miao instantly. What did she just say? She wants to be with me? Really? It felt like a dream. Old Ling, you can't go back on your word. Don't tell me you've forgotten our trade. Nameless Nia cheerfully reminded Annie Ling. Annie Ling was at a loss for words. The thing she regretted most in her life was confiscating Nameless Nia's calculator and abacus. Sorry, Mom, Ling Miao said. You're out of my control. Annie Ling harumphed and went upstairs. You played us. Li Chun's father's eyes glinted chillingly. No one in this continent dared to treat the Li family like this. What? Your skin's itching again? Nameless Nia glanced at Li Chun and his family. Young man, don't overestimate yourself. Have you heard of Ji Shiran? Li Chun demanded coldly. Ji Shiran. Nameless Nia scratched his head. I've heard of him. What about it? Hey, you've heard of him? Li Chun snorted. The Li Corporation is a company under the Ji clan, which means we're part of the Ji clan. Do you understand what I'm saying? I see. Nameless Nia was pensive and pulled out his phone in front of everyone. A moment later, a girl appeared on Nameless Nia's phone screen. Brother, what's up? Worryless Nia, the girl on the screen, asked. Why do you have his phone? Where's Ji Shiran? Nameless Nia asked. He's peeling garlic next to me. Worryless Nia replied. Give the phone to Ji Shiran. I have something to ask him. Nameless Nia requested. Soon, Ji Shiran appeared with an apron on. What is it? A grown man wearing an apron and cooking in the kitchen. What a disappointment, Nameless Nia teased. Ji Shiran smiled faintly. Let's talk business. Do you know these people? Nameless Nia aimed the camera at Li Chun and his family. Chapter 2487, Side Story. Nameless Nia 20. When Li Chun's father saw the man in the video, his pupils contracted. This man was really Ji Shiran. I probably saw him once. I think he's responsible for a real estate company under the Ji family. Ji Shiran detachedly asked, Did they offend you? They didn't just offend me. They pulled a gun at me and want to steal my wife. What do you think I should do? Nameless Nia snorted. You can handle it as you wish. An executive can be replaced at any time. We'll talk later. I have dishes to finish cooking here. After the video call ended, Li Chun and his family looked at Nameless Nia, sweat drenching their whole bodies. Just what was this man's background? He was actually this close with Ji Shiran, and even misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Li Chun's father sensed the impending doom and hastily said, You should have told me you knew Emperor Ji. Do you know now? Nameless Nia questioned with a smile. I know. Don't worry. The fault of this matter lies with us. It absolutely won't happen again. Li Chun's father promised. How about this? I'm too lazy to waste my words with you. Your behavior has caused a certain amount of damage and trauma to my psychological well-being. You have to give me compensation, Nameless Nia ordered. Sure. We'll do whatever you say. Li Chun's father nodded vehemently. On the side, Li Chun was akin to a withered cucumber and didn't dare to even breathe too loudly. Several days later, Nameless Nia bade farewell to Old Ling and brought Ling Miao back to the independent state. At a certain cafe, Aunt, you're so good-looking, Worryless Nia praised as she stared at Ling Miao. Ling Miao blushed, not knowing what to say. Don't you know how to talk? Aunt? Call her sister-in-law, Nameless Nia corrected. Worryless Nia. They got along pretty well the past few days in the independent state. However, What Nameless Nia didn't anticipate was that some things were destined from the moment Ling Miao stepped into the independent state. Snow scattered down like raindrops, illuminating both the sky and ground as if it wanted to extinguish the darkness brought by the night. The man held a toothpick in his mouth as he nonchalantly picked up the phone and sent a few messages. However, after waiting for a long time, he still didn't see any reply on his phone. "Eldest young master, it's time for dinner," the steward said to Nameless Nia with a smile after entering the room. Eat. All you know is eating all day long. Are you guys rice buckets?" Nameless Nia felt distracted and anxious for some reason. Eldest young master, it was Madam who told me to call you, I understand." Nameless Nia yawned and slowly stood up, following the steward to the living room. In the Nia dining room. "Brother, what's going on with you recently? You make Dad and Mom call you every time," Nia Linglong said to Nameless Nia. "None of your business. Eat your dinner." Nameless Nia sat down in front of the dining table. "You've been getting more and more insolent recently." Madam Nia rebuked her son. "Mom, I'm not lecturing you, but what the heck are you doing? Ling Miao came to find me. So why the heck did you kick her out?" Nameless Nia stood up from his seat suddenly. "Sit down." Patriarch Nia frowned deeply. "Sit down." Nameless Nia chortled, his eyes sweeping over Patriarch Nia and Madam Nia. "Fine." Nameless Nia sat back down in his chair. "Damn punk. Don't think you're Mom, and I don't understand the situation between you and Ling Miao." Patriarch Ling said. "The situation? What could the situation be? Come, tell me. I'll see if you actually know or not." Nameless Nia's face was devoid of any emotion. Chapter 2488, Side Story. Nameless Nia 21. Are you two in a secret relationship together? Madam Nia was displeased. No way, right? Ling Miao is our aunt, though. Nia Linglong was shocked. Shoo, what business is it of yours? Isn't rice enough to stuff your mouth shut? Nameless Nia glanced at Nia Linglong. Then Nameless Nia unhappily replied, "I'm not in a secret relationship with Ling Miao at all. We're in an open and honorable relationship together. Plus, Mom, since you knew, why did you kick Ling Miao out?" "Why?" Patriarch Nia snorted. Nameless Nia, where do you get the face to ask me why? You don't care about face, but the Nia family still wants to preserve their face. How do I not care about face? Nameless Nia was discontent. Ling Miao is your aunt. What's the connection between you two? Huh? You're dating Ling Miao? Madam Nia appeared worked up. Mom, aren't you taking it too seriously? Ling Miao might be my aunt in name, but in truth, we don't have any direct blood ties, all right? If we look back, the last 18 generations of our ancestors don't have any blood ties with Ling Miao's last 18 generations of ancestors. It's merely a polite form of address. It's not like you and Dad are unaware, Nameless Nia explained. We know, but do outsiders know? Patriarch Nia demanded. Who do you represent? You represent the Nia family. It doesn't matter how other people look at us, but it's unpermissible for you to defame the Nia family. Madam Nia approached. Nameless Nia was riled up and turned to Patriarch Nia. Dad, tell me, is your son more important, or is an outsider's opinion more important? I think your family is more important. After saying that, Patriarch Nia quietly started eating dinner. Moreover, Ling Miao isn't a member of the independent state. Don't tell me you don't know about the independent state's rules. Madam Nia continued. What a joke. This is my own business. Since when could the independent state's supposed rules control me? Nameless Nia snorted. You're simply insolent. Madam Nia shot up from her seat. Sit down. Why are you also standing up? Calm down. Patriarch Nia set down his chopsticks and looked at Madam Nia. Dad, Mom, it's true that our Nia family is ranked #1 amongst the 4 great clans. But have you thought about this? Without me, Nameless Nia, how could you compete with the G family? The G family has G Shiron. So without me, do you think you'd still take the #1 position from the G family? Nonsense. G Shiron was just taking your sister Worryless into consideration. Do you really think he'd lose to you? Madam Nia said. Anyway, Your dad and I absolutely won't permit you to keep contacting Ling Miao. It's for your own good. Nameless Nia stood up silently in front of the table. A while later, the corner of Nameless Nia's lips twitched. Is that so? For my own good? A second later, Nameless Nia flipped over the table. Bowls and chopsticks were scattered all over the floor. Nameless Nia's behavior caused his parents to jolt in fright. Damn punk, you've gone mad. Patriarch Nia shouted. Madame Nia was trembling uncontrollably with rage. Damn, Mom. It's because you're too selfish. Nameless Nia turned around and didn't look back. You didn't do it for me or for the Nia family. In truth, you only did it for yourself, including Worryless. In order to compromise with Grandpa, you allowed Grandpa to take Worryless away at a young age, causing Worryless to lose out on her parents' companionship since she was little. However, you might have mistaken one thing. I'm Nameless Nia. My fate won't be manipulated by anyone, even if that person is the Heavenly Emperor himself. Chapter 2489, Side Story. Nameless End in the night. Nameless Nia allowed the snow to land on his body without care as he gradually disappeared from sight. Patriarch Nia and Madame Nia stared at each other, speechless. Several days passed. Old G, why did you call me? Nameless Nia asked into the phone. I received news that the Arbitration Council is about to take action against Ling Miao, Ji Shiran said. Nameless Nia furrowed his brows. What do you mean? I don't know the situation yet. Keep a closer eye on things. After the call ended, Nameless Nia fell into contemplation. Could it be because of that ring? Ling Miao's ring symbolized the most supreme power in the Rose of Death. Nameless Nia even crafted a nearly identical lover's ring using it as a model. High in the mountain, a woman was at her last gasp. Isn't Nameless Nia here? Ling Miao surveyed her surroundings. So the president of the martial arts union deceived her? He used Nameless Nia's life as bait only to trick her here. Things would be okay as long as he was fine. And, worryless, Nia didn't know what to do as she watched Ling Miao. Here, Ling Miao used her last trace of energy to hand her ring to the girl. Don't let other people see it. Help me watch over your brother. It was several days later before Nameless Nia found out Ling Miao encountered a mishap. This was a strike of lightning for Nameless Nia. He lost track of the number of times he got absolutely smashed. He didn't know whether it was a dream or reality. He couldn't even protect his own woman. Even more, he wasn't by her side when she needed him the most. Just how lonely and hopeless had she felt. The independent state, the arbitration council, the martial arts union, none of them would be spared. They all had to perish. Nameless Nia's entire body melted into the night. His black robes covered all of him, his face indistinguishable. In Tianshui City, it felt as if the black-robed man was an Azura who traversed through the abyss, his darkness so oppressive it made it hard to breathe. The next day, the current president of the Arbitration Council was assassinated, and the killer left no evidence behind. The day after that, the head of the department responsible for encircling and annihilating the Rose of Death was assassinated. Suddenly, trepidation grasped every resident of Tianshui City. The Arbitration Council spared no efforts in searching for traces of the culprit, but it proved futile. The assassin never appeared again, as if they vanished into thin air. At the headquarters of the Martial Arts Union, the black-robed man looked at the elderly man under his feet. He just needed to apply a little force, and he would crush the elderly man's organs. However, for some reason, the black-robed man didn't do that. Instead, he kicked the elderly man into the air before shrinking back into the darkness and disappearing. From now on, I'm a demon with his wings cut off. I walk in this world solely for revenge. Nameless Nia. Many years later, in the hospital, Ling Miao, worryless, got married. Her husband is Lord Azura and is super rich. She actually made us wear cartoon costumes. Nameless Nia's face was brimming with gentleness as he looked at Ling Miao in the hospital bed and gently described things to her. When we get married, let's also make them wear cartoon costumes. Nameless Nia lightly clasped Ling Miao's hand. But when will you finally wake up? I'm too lonely. Suddenly, Nameless Nia's phone started ringing. Captain, hurry over here. There's a big job. I guarantee you won't believe how high the salary is. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Spray of Flowers hastily said. Okay. Nameless Nia hung up and patted Ling Miao's forehead. After Nameless Nia left, in the empty hospital room shielded from sight, the girl's eyelashes twitched minutely. Chapter 2490, Yindi, Mini-Scene. Shameless competition. The sun shone as far as the eye could see. Everyone was gathered in the center of the plaza. The referee's eyes roamed across the entire plaza. There wasn't a single empty seat, and the plaza was almost completely filled. The annual Shameless competition is about to begin. Everyone here is a selected contestant. Haha, I'll definitely be the champion of shamelessness. Lin K looked at Siyin. I forfeit. Siyin nonchalantly said immediately. I also admit defeat. The white-dressed Ji Shiran also spoke up with a smile. Yi Wanwan sat with her ankle on her knee and examined her surroundings. The only true threat here was probably her own brother. We'll now invite the president of the Fearless Alliance to speak. The referee looked at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan immediately stood up and smiled confidently. While I was fighting with Si Wutian in China, we were outnumbered, but so what? I simply called a number, and it was perfectly resolved. The host asked, What number did you call? 110. Yi Wanwan replied. Everyone, TSH. Nameless Nia was unconvinced. When I set up a fight with the local bully when I was young, he brought 10 people, but I was different. I just brought one person. Who did you bring? The referee asked curiously. Oh, I brought his dad with me. Nameless Nia answered. Everyone, I tricked my baby into my possession with a single Xiaobing. My baby is the leader of Azura, Yi Wanwan said. Nameless Nia. I made a trade for my gorgeous using a single abacus. It was also my mother-in-law who did the trade with me. My gorgeous is the leader of the Rose of Death. I love money as much as my life. Yi Wanwan sneered. I earn money from you, Nameless Nia said. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched, and she took a deep breath before continuing. On the deserted island, a certain leader said there wasn't anything he didn't dare to do. So I made a bet with him using his white tiger seal as the price, and I won in the end. The referee said, I know that leader. He's a ruthless character. How did you win the bet? Yi Wanwan. I bet that he didn't dare to eat shit. The referee, Nameless Nia. I participated in all kinds of competitions in China, and one who knows how many fridges and TVs and washing machines. They had no choice but to stop broadcasting the show, and I was eventually blacklisted by all the challenge shows in China and became a competitor permanently on the ban list. Everyone. Just what in the world is worth being proud of? Yi Wanwan. Nameless Nia. In my WeChat groups, I never talk. The only way to get my attention is to send red envelopes. Yi Wanwan. I got your attention with a single cent. Nameless Nia. 1 cent is still money. Yi Wanwan. Of course, I also have an ace in the hole. Nameless Nia turned to his mercenary quartet. Immediately, a shameful slogan reverberated in the plaza. Godly captain, free-spirited and talented. Handsome, 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 handsome. Strong, 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 strong. Everyone, that's too shameful. Can we get our tickets refunded? FML was written all over Yi Wanwan's face. I admit defeat. That's nothing. One time, a door was only worth several $1,000s, but I said the original price was $200,000 and was giving them a 50% off discount. So I managed to sell it at the astronomical price of $100,000. And the buyer was piece of shit. He was utterly grateful to me, too. When the referee was about to announce the results, Big Dipper suddenly stood up. Immediately, Yi Han, who was sitting in the audience, shot Big Dipper a glance. Big Dipper died. The referee wiped his sweat. I announced that the winner of the most shameless award in Perfect Secret Love is Nameless Nia. Godly captain, free-spirited and talented. Handsome, 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 handsome. Strong, 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 strong. Yi Wanwan cupped her fists. I've disrupted you. I'll be taking my leave now. End. Chapter 24, 90 mini-scene. Shameless competition. The sun shone as far as the eye could see. Everyone was gathered in the center of the plaza. The referee's eyes roamed across the entire plaza. There wasn't a single empty seat, and the plaza was almost completely filled. The annual Shameless competition is about to begin. Everyone here is a selected contestant. Haha, I'll definitely be the champion of shamelessness. Lin K looked at Si Yin. I forfeit, Si Yin nonchalantly said immediately. I also admit defeat. The white-dressed Ji Shiran also spoke up with a smile. Yi Wanwan sat with her ankle on her knee and examined her surroundings. The only true threat here was probably her own brother. We'll now invite the president of the Fearless Alliance to speak. The referee looked at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan immediately stood up and smiled confidently. When I was fighting with Si Wutian in China, we were outnumbered, but so what? I simply called a number, and it was perfectly resolved. The host asked, "What number did you call?" 110, Yi Wanwan replied. Everyone, T-Sage. Nameless Nya was unconvinced. When I set up a fight with the local bully when I was young, he brought 10 people, but I was different. I just brought one person. Who did you bring? The referee asked curiously. Oh, I brought his dad with me. Nameless Nya answered. Everyone, I tricked my baby into my possession with a single Xiaobing. My baby is the leader of Azura, Yi Wanwan said. Nameless Nya, I made a trade for my gorgeous using a single abacus. It was also my mother-in-law who did the trade with me. My gorgeous is the leader of the Rose of Death. I love money as much as my life. Yi Wanwan sneered. I earn money from you, Nameless Nya said. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched, and she took a deep breath before continuing. On the deserted island, a certain leader said there wasn't anything he didn't dare to do. So I made a bet with him using his white tiger seal as the price, and I won in the end. The referee said, I know that leader. He's a ruthless character. How did you win a bet? Yi Wanwan, I bet that he didn't dare to eat shit. The referee, Nameless Nya, I participated in all kinds of competitions in China, and one who knows how many fridges and TVs and washing machines. They had no choice but to stop broadcasting the show, and I was eventually blacklisted by all the challenge shows in China and became a competitor permanently on the ban list. Everyone, just when the world is worth being proud of. Yi Wanwan, Nameless Nya. In my WeChat groups, I never talk. The only way to get my attention is to send red envelopes. Yi Wanwan, I got your attention with a single cent. Nameless Nya, 1 cent is still money. Yi Wanwan, of course, I also have an ace in the hole. Nameless Nya turned to his mercenary quartet. Immediately, a shameful slogan reverberated in the plaza. Godly captain, free-spirited and talented. Handsome, 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 handsome. Strong, 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 strong. Everyone, that's too shameful. Can we get our tickets refunded? FML was written all over Yi Wanwan's face. I admit defeat. That's nothing. One time, a door was only worth several $1,000s, but I said the original price was $200,000 and was giving them a 50% off discount, so I managed to sell it at the astronomical price of $100,000. And the buyer was piece of shit. He was utterly grateful to me, too. When the referee was about to announce the results, Big Dipper suddenly stood up. Immediately, Ishui Han, who was sitting in the audience, shot Big Dipper a glance. Big Dipper died. The referee wiped his sweat. I announced that the winner of the most shameless award in perfect secret love is Nameless Nya. Godly captain, free-spirited and talented. Handsome, 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 handsome. Strong, 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 strong. Yi Wanwan cupped her fists. I've disrupted you. I'll be taking my leave now. End. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.